from the Car Shield studio, this is the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
Guess what day it
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mac, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. Great to have you with us on a Friday morning. It's raining, and it's 62 degrees. Second alert weather brought to you here on 101 ESPN. And we have had the lights flicker multiple times this morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's a little bit spooky because I was walking in this morning. First of all, it's pouring rain right now. I believe that it will rain, second alert weather, for we think 6 more minutes?
I had 4.
Or 10, maybe. Should we just kind of expand it a little bit? We're not professionals here.
Let's go to third alert weather then.
Okay.
And we'll do it ourselves and say, let's go 11.
Okay, 11 minutes. It will rain for supposedly 11 more minutes. And as I was walking in this morning, the lights were flickering from outside. And I was like, uh-oh, this isn't a good sign. I come inside, the elevator's not working. And
Shocker.
Then I come in here, and the lights are flickering too. So a little bit spooky to start our day here.
I think it looks great outside.
You love this?
Sure, it looks dark. It's Halloween time. It's a little rainy. It's that time of year. It's supposed to be 82 next Tuesday, by the way. The high ever, the highest ever it's been on that date, which I don't even know what it is, October 27th, maybe, 28th, something like that.
Let's check and see what Halloween is.
86.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're dealing with some warm weather here in late October.
Dan, you're advancing us to first alert weather here because you're looking ahead, and we are just kind of living in the moment right here.
Well, some of our internet is down, too. So keep texting in. We need those texts.
Next Thursday, by the way, Halloween, 69 degrees for the high, 48 for the low, partly cloudy during the day. Here's what we got coming up on the show. We've got Jed Stugart, the head coach at Lindenwood, his team coming off a heartbreaking loss last weekend, and they'll play homecoming tomorrow at Lindenwood against Western Illinois. Jay Delsing will join us. It's Friday, so we've got Jed, Jay, and then Joey at 8:15. Robert Thomas is going to join us. Unfortunately, he doesn't have to hold his phone with his ankle. He'll join us.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. At 8:45, and then Jeremy Rutherford will be with us as well. And those hockey guys coming on the heels of a Blues really impressive. Well, thank you, Jordan Binnington. 5-1 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. And Philip Broberg continues to impress. He was the first guy to get the Blues on the board last night.
Jordan Kyrou up at the blue line, throws on the break, cuts it back, trying to dance it away from Tanev, gets it to the line, shot, score! Broberg on a one-timer from the blue line. After terrific stick handling from Kyrou, it found its way in, it had some eyes, and it's a 1-0 Blues lead, 4:07 to go, first period.
And midway through the period, Oiler fans got even more indigestion.
Texier battling to get it back with Sundqvist, who gets knocked down. He gets right back up again. I think that's a song. In front it comes to Holloway. He shoots, he scores! Dylan Holloway found the puck alone in front and tucks it 5-hole. That's a power play goal. And a 2-0 Blues lead. 9:29 to play, period number 1.
2-0 after a period. Oliver Ekman-Larsson scoring for the Leafs in the second period, but Alexander Texier scoring his first as a Blue at the 7:58 mark in the third. Jake Neighbors just got a new contract extension. He scores his third at the 3:45 mark, and then an empty netter for Holloway. So 4 goals from newcomers, and the 5th goal came from a guy who got a contract extension this week. A good game for Doug Armstrong last night.
Yeah, a really good game for Doug Armstrong. He had to have been so happy, and I know that fans were too because of that effort. There was just so many positives to point out in this one. Jordan Binnington, as you mentioned, he was just absolutely rock solid, stopping 40 of 41 shots. And also, you had a great game, I thought, from guys who didn't score, but I thought that Oscar Sundqvist coming back was a huge difference. I thought Jordan Kyrou, honestly, that was probably one of his best games I've seen of the season. That Texier, Booch, and Kyrou line just really stood out to me and how they showed up. And, of course, as you mentioned, those younger guys coming in, it feels like Dylan Holloway gets better every single game.
Mm-hmm. The Blues now have 14 different goal scorers, and I'm not sure many in the league can claim that amount of guys that have lit the lamp. And so that was good to see. You mentioned this is good for Doug Armstrong. It's good for the organization. I think all the guys that scored last night are 25 or younger.
Yep.
So, you start thinking about the future and the core of this team and where it goes. That's the group. I mean, these are guys that are making a huge difference. I thought Parayko was awesome. And everybody talks about Broberg, and they should. And there's a lot of excitement around him, and he played around 21 minutes. But Colton Parayko is a difference maker in the back end. He played nearly 27 minutes and had 7 blocks. And then Ryan Suter playing, we were talking about it before we went on the air, he's playing over 20 minutes a game.
Yep, 25-40 last night for Suter.
Not sure that's sustainable, but, and Jordan Binnington, I looked this up. He's now 4 away from Mike Liut from being the all-time winningest goalie in franchise history. He's had a hell of a career, and he looked sharp last night back in his hometown. So a lot of positives for the Blues last night.
Jake Neighbors, too, as we mentioned, coming off of that big contract, and he just shows up in so many different aspects of the game, too. There's so many highlights to point out, and I thought, what a response from this team that just lost their top-line center, too. That is a huge loss, and, of course, we're not understating it. So you look at this game, of course, and we said, who was going to be the guy that stepped up? It really felt like every single guy on this team stepped up last night in the absence of Robert Thomas.
I thought the Neighbors play that I liked the most was the goal was great, but then he got physical at the end of the game with guys that were getting to Jordan Binnington. And that's what young leaders do. I mean, and he's the kind of guy when you talk to people around the Blues that he's a future captain. And it's things like that stand out for me that make a young player look like an older player, veteran. And that's what he does. He shows up every night and he competes.
The Blues will stay in Canada. They'll take on the Canadiens on Saturday night, tomorrow night. And that is a 6 o'clock game, 5 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. The next Tuesday, they're in Ottawa before wrapping up their 4-game trip next Thursday night in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, also last night, the Rams came back and knocked off the Vikings 30-20. A controversial call at the end that really shouldn't have been that controversial. I don't think Sam Darnold was going to lead a 97-yard touchdown drive in the last 2 minutes with no timeouts left. But that being said, it goes to show again that officiating is difficult and in the NFL many times bad because there was an obvious face mask call that should have been called at the end of the game, and it wasn't, and that allowed the Rams to score 2 more points on a safety. The Vikings had to kick it away, and the Rams just sat on the ball, and they were able to win it 30-20 over the Vikings.
Does it surprise you guys when things like that are still missed in the NFL?
Yeah, and I know the referee after the game said, my view was blocked. Well, there's video of the umpire standing there looking right at it. And if the guy's head turns around, what else could it be?
How do you miss it?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm usually one that is on the side of referees and umpires. I think it's very hard. I think the game is really fast. I think it's easy to slow it down for the viewer at home on instant replay. But, man, I mean, his head was on. It looked like The Exorcist.
Yeah, right.
How do you miss that? And as you said, Randy, it'd have been tough to go down the field with limited time, but at least you have to give him the shot. And on the flip side of all this stuff, though, is if I'm the Rams coming out of the game last night, I don't know if I can trade Cooper Kupp.
Oh, or
Nakua. Or Matthew Stafford.
Right. You're a game behind San Francisco or Seattle for the lead. You're tied with San Francisco now. You're tied with Arizona. All those 3 teams are 3-4. Seattle is 4-3. Yeah, if you're the Rams, you have to keep those guys.
You're right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And they're those guys are the reason why they look so good last night. They get an injection of offense with that crew. So, I'm not sure how you can move on from those players right now.
It makes a huge difference. Nakua racking up over 100 yards, a huge difference for the Rams.
And congratulations to Kyron Williams, man. He's good. He's a Golden Griffin, is he not?
He's a Vianney High School product and then went to Notre Dame and now with the Rams.
And one note, by the way, after teams play the Lions, they're
0-5.
0-5
now.
Isn't that weird?
They're just getting the hell beat out of them.
They are. It's kind of like a Lions hangover a little bit where teams just do not do well after facing them. I still say, after watching this, just the best team in the NFC is the Lions, to me. Currently, right now, I was not expecting, honestly, for the Vikings to fall in this game, but it seems like we're starting to see a little bit of cracks. Of course, you mentioned at the end there what happened, but still, they should have been able to beat the Rams.
Minnesota needs Christian Darrisaw to be able to play. You lose your left tackle, and he's good. and he was replaced by an ineffective left tackle. That was one of the things that always hurt Sam Bradford here. If you don't have a left tackle and you're a quarterback, you're in trouble.
It's amazing how the odds makers just are so good. I mean, last night it was a line of 3, and you would have said straight up Minnesota, Rams. You said, well, Minnesota's going to win that game.
Yeah.
They're going to win by a touchdown at least. And it's the Rams that win by, 8, I guess it was. And but again, they know that Kupp's coming back and Nakua comes back, and Stafford is still one of the best and elite throwers in the game, and they find a way.
And their offensive line is going to come back next game. They've got the long layoff, and they'll get their center and their left guard back too. So a lot of good things happening, unfortunately, for the LA Rams. We've got a triple header for you on Sunday. Bucks and Falcons, Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins, one of the best quarterback duels in history, and we'll have that one for you, followed by the Raiders and the Chiefs, followed by the Niners and the Cowboys, right here on 101 ESPN on Sunday. Matthew, why are you looking at me that way? You don't think you aren't giving credence and credit to Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins being an epic matchup that people will tune in for? The next matchup. Manning versus Brady.
Oh, that's a little bit of a stretch.
I was going to go with like Brad Johnson versus Kerry Collins, like circa like 2004. But yeah, sure, let's go with that.
Take it or leave it. If the Vikings have Kirk Cousins last night, he leads the 95-yard game-winning touchdown drive. That's what he seems to do now.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
I would.
It's kind of true.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
I don't want to be down on Sam Darnold. It has been a great comeback campaign for him. Did you guys catch any of that college football game, too, last night?
3 pick sixes for Pitt, and number 16 Pitt knocks off Syracuse 41-13. 3 pick sixes in the first half.
What in the world happened to Kyle McCord out there?
Yikes.
That was just a nightmare start to the game.
And then
he's been pretty good this year, too.
Yeah.
He had, yeah.
Pittsburgh had a total of 217 yards on offense.
Put up 41 points.
And put up 41 points. They were 2 for 9 on third downs. But that's you talk about an anomaly on statistically looking at a game. 217 yards offensively and put up 41 points. That's hard to do.
It is.
Why did everyone react like Kerry Collins and Brad Johnson were insults? Those guys played in Super Bowls.
Yes, they did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, the Boston Celtics played last night.
Oh, I don't have a minute.
Well, we don't have the minute. We got to get the minute up. If we're going to do the story, we got to do the minute. But I will tell you this. The Celtics and Wizards were delayed not because of a power outage, not because of a problem with the basket, not because the basket was too high. The Celtics and the Wizards were delayed last night because a fan spilled a full tray of beer on the court before the game started.
Really?
And they delayed the game.
I did not get to catch that last night, so I had no idea that happened.
Yeah.
Wow, how does that happen?
Jason Tatum is one of the best players in the NBA.
Tatum drives down and throws it down. Wow!
And he reps his city.
Who do you got in the Super Bowl tonight?
The St. Louis Rams. Oh, we can't let it go. The St. Louis Rams.
It's time for the Jason Tatum Minute.
And let's get the MVP watch started here. JT last night, 25 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, with 9 of 20 from the floor, 3 for 11 from three-point range, and 4 of 7 from the line. Celtics over the Wizards, 122-103, and the St. Louis and Jason Tatum rocking and rolling right now.
They are. With Jason Tatum, too, you mentioned MVP campaign. We talked about it. It feels like he's just a man on a mission this season.
Yeah, what a great St. Louisan.
I think after the Olympics, he is a man on a mission.
Probably is.
Yeah.
And not winning, and not that he should have. I have no problem with Jaylen Brown winning the MVP in the finals last year, but I would think that's something that Jason Tatum would like to have on his mantle at some point, is the MVP trophy.
I don't know how, if you're Steve Kerr and how the Olympics unfolded, how you kept him on the bench as much as you did. With his resume, what he's done, what he means to his team. Granted, there's a lot of talent going around, but man, to keep him on limited minutes in the Olympics, it's got to motivate him going into the NBA.
No doubt about it. Wait till they play the Warriors this year.
Absolutely.
Yep, can't wait for that one.
We're off and running here on this edition of the Opening Drive. Coming up, we're going to talk to our buddy Jed Stewart, the head football coach at Lindenwood, is next on 101 ESPN.
Have kids under 25? We can save you money at Carlton Insurance.
at Lindenwood, Western Illinois, in town at Harlan C. Hunter Stadium for a 2 o'clock game. And the head coach of the Lindenwood Lions, Jed Stugart, joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Great, Randy. Good to be on with you this morning.
We're excited to have you with us. Your team has won 3 out of 5, and the 2 losses are by 4 points and by 7 points last weekend. So do you feel like you're right on the edge of being a highly competitive team?
I do. I mean, I think it's just consistency. You know, Randy, that's what we talked about all year, is that we have to execute. We have to be consistent in our play in all 4 quarters. And, you know, and unfortunately, we just it's always worse when you go back and watch film and, you know, the next day and you realize, like, it comes down to so many little things that can determine something. And that's the way football goes. And so you got to just keep trying to develop those habits and be disciplined. We're going to keep plugging away, because I do feel like we're so close. And I think, you know, through this journey, and we know it's been a journey, we kind of look at last year and we look at where we're at now, and you can be, you know, we're just really encouraged with the growth that we're gaining. You know, we just got to keep patient and keep plugging away and be disciplined and be consistent.
Speaking of growth, Steve Hall was named a finalist for the Jerry Rice Award, which recognizes FCS Freshman Player of the Year. He has been outstanding in his redshirt freshman campaign, rushing for 460 yards on 68 attempts. How big has he been for your offense?
Well, Steve's amazing, and, you know, an MICDS kid. Just love keeping kids loyal to the Lou, and that's what we want to be. And, you know, it's just so he's such an amazing kid. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, when you recruit a kid and you kind of have this feeling what you know they're going to be, you know, and Steve's kind of just been talking about consistent. You know, he's that one kid every day in practice. You know, when coaches use that analogy, you play like you practice. You know, it always comes back to guys like Steve, because when he practices, it's like it's game day, and he, you know, that transfers to the field. Just an amazing kid too off the field. Just we're blessed to have him for sure.
How many St. Louis? I'm sorry, Coach. Go right ahead. I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I said it's good to have a kid like that in your program, no doubt.
How many St. Louis kids do you have on your roster?
You know, St. Louis. Well, we always say we're about. We've almost got. We're over 50 or almost 60% of our team is probably within an hour of when. I always say, you know, when you look at Illinois and St. Louis, and that's a good question specifically about St. Louis. I'm not that good at math, if you remember my E score, but it's like, but what, yeah, a high percent of our team is really, we always say, you know, kind of from the St. Louis area. Within an hour is, you know, almost 60% of our team. And so we got a bunch of visits the last 2 weekends, you know, of our official visits that we have in the season of kids that are from the St. Louis area, which is excited to add more.
Coach, one thing I'd like to do sometimes when I'm watching a game and I'm at a game is just focus on a player. And I would advise people when they go to homecoming tomorrow, 2 o'clock game against Western Illinois, take a possession to watch number 9 on your defense, Vincent King. He's pretty good, isn't he?
Vincent, the flowing long blonde hair flying around, hitting people on the field. I'm telling you, Vincent. First of all, Vincent, he's probably got most males, females jealous just because of his hair that he has, that blonde hair around campus. So he raises the bar high. But no, he's an amazing kid. Transferred in from Colorado, from northern Colorado, and that's kind of my old stomping ground back home. And you know, to have Vincent here, and then with Devin, you know, Edwards going out for the year. You know, our middle linebacker, we've had to move Vincent. So he's playing multiple positions and just really being a key to our defense. But you're right, Randy. He's fun to watch. He's all over the place.
Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Harlan Hunter Stadium, and I know that your team will be fired up for the homecoming game.
No doubt. And it's a 2 o'clock kickoff, and it's always fun to be back home, but also special for homecoming. We got, you know, I think we're honoring Eric Hinneman, one of our former great tight ends that during the game, just as we've done a weekly alumni. So it's good to have Eric back, and you know, it's always, and we got a bunch of other alumni that are coming, and it's going to be fun. And I know our guys are excited to be back home. We've got a little bitter taste in our mouth, and we've had a good week of practice. So I'm anticipating a fun, exciting atmosphere. And Western Illinois, compared to last year, is a totally different team. They're playing, coming off of a great win. and they're a much better and much improved team, so we got to be ready to roll.
Good luck against them. As always, Coach, thanks for the time. Tickets available, by the way, at lindenwoodlions.com, and people can get tickets tomorrow at the gate at Harlan C. Hunter Stadium on the campus of Lindenwood University. Coach, thanks so much, and go get them tomorrow.
Well, have a great week, and God bless y'all.
Thank you, Coach. Jed Stugart, the head coach of the Lindenwood Lions, with us on 101 ESPN. In addition, tomorrow, you've got 21st-ranked Mizzou at number 15, Alabama, and number 20, Illinois, is at number 1, Oregon. And both of those games are 2:30 St. Louis time start. So Mizzou and Alabama is the big game on ABC, and Illinois and Oregon is the big game on CBS.
Ooh, big games for the local teams. Dan, what are your friends saying about these games and what we should be watching for betting line-wise?
Yeah, I have to wait till tonight because you don't know, especially with Mizzou. The line may change if there's some word that gets out with guys that are listed as questionable, and the most notable would be Brady Cook. I cannot see him not playing tomorrow. I just, if he was able to go to a hospital and get back on the field and play last weekend against Auburn, and you got to tear the jersey off this kid, and he can barely walk. He's got a high ankle sprain, which is, many people say, worse than a break. I just can't see him not being on the field, and that would change what you have. Now, I think the Alabama, the fact that, well, let's look at it this way. Alabama has lost by a combined 11 points, and they both have come down to the very end of the game. They very easily could be undefeated. They're not, and they're playing for their playoff lives, and it's in Tuscaloosa. That's a tall order for Missouri. It just is going to be very tough for them to win on the road.
Really
I hate saying that, but it is.
It is. Well, and you look at this, too, just coming in there, Alabama has a lot to prove because of the things you just mentioned there, because this is not the Alabama that we are used to. There's been a lot of talk about this team just not being as disciplined as it was in the past against Nick Saban. So this is a group that has a lot to prove. Jalen Milroe, I have a feeling he's going to be a man on a mission, too. And Ryan Williams, we've seen him, 17 years old, and he looks like he could go play in the NFL right now with his speed and his playmaking ability is just absolutely nuts. If Brady Cook isn't able to play in that game, it'll be a huge loss for many different reasons because he ranks 6th right now in the SEC in passing yards before that recent ankle injury, and also he would affect the ground game too because he's also the team's 3rd leading rusher, and as we know, they will be without Nate Noel.
And this is really the last opportunity for Mizzou to have a good win. Alabama, after starting 4-0, lost to Vanderbilt. They held off South Carolina 27-25, lost to Tennessee. That's their last 3 games, losing by a touchdown at Tennessee last week. So they've got Mizzou, ranked number 21 in the country. Then after that, Alabama gets LSU, and then they finish up with Mercer, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is a 20-point underdog to Ole Miss tomorrow. And then Auburn. We saw Auburn last week. So Alabama has 2 more opportunities to get good wins. Mizzou is a good win if you get it. And then they play at LSU, obviously that night game on November 9th. So Alabama's, I would think, going to be, like you guys said, highly motivated tomorrow.
And looking at Illinois, if they can somehow get past Oregon, which is going to be very, very tough to do, they've got Minnesota, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Northwestern left. Those are all winnable games for them. So they're going to wind up, regardless of what happens tomorrow against Oregon, number 1 in the country, they're going to wind up with a really good record because they're going to win some of those games, if not all of them, after tomorrow.
And Oregon is a 22-point favorite tomorrow.
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty steep, especially when you're the number 1 team in the country. And Dan Lanning really has that group going right now. This is the last chance for, just going back to Mizzou, when you're comparing these 2 games, this is the last chance for Mizzou to get a statement win.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they haven't had that yet this season. Is there a game this season for Mizzou that you think was a statement win for them? I think you look at Auburn, and that was more of a character win, but that's not a statement win. And those things matter when we're talking about a little bit later down on the line when you're looking at the playoff committee. This is their last chance to get that statement win of a season.
And I'm well aware of the fact that the SEC is ultimately going to go to a 9-game conference schedule. And Mizzou might wind up with Vanderbilt, by the way. The preliminary talk was that their rivals would be Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, which are 3, at the moment, non-great programs. But if you do have only a 3-game non-conference schedule, I think and this is where Mizzou got hurt this year, Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, and UMass, you're going to have to put a Power 5 in there. And they've got Illinois coming up on the schedule over the course of the next couple of years. They've got another Power 5, but I think you're going to have one or two Power 5s in there if that's the schedule that you're looking at for Mizzou.
Dome looks better, by the way, if they decide to play some games in St. Louis. They put down the new turf. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it looks
great.
Looks very good. They'll be ready for the Battlehawk season. I'm with you, though, Randy. It's got to be a better schedule. I guess the Vanderbilt, it's not a signature win. It looks better on paper now than it did, let's say, 4 weeks ago with Vanderbilt's win over Alabama. I thought the Boston College win would wind up being better than it is, but Boston College has fallen off a little bit. So, to your point, Brooke, I don't think they have a signature win. Tomorrow would be a signature win if they could somehow pull it off. But, they anticipated going into this game being undefeated. And if they lose tomorrow, then you're talking about a 2-loss team with not a great resume. And that's going to hurt them when they get looked at by the College Football Playoff Committee.
And the Texas A&M loss, too, also haunts you because of the way that you lost that. If it would have been a little bit closer, it could help your case. But the fact that you lost in that manner, 45-10, really does not help your resume whatsoever. On the other side, when you're talking about the importance of really good scheduling, you look at Illinois, say that they lose tomorrow, their 2 losses come against 2 top 5 teams in the country. I know that Penn State was ranked, I believe, 8th or 9th at the time when they lost to them. But at the same time, if you lose, your 2 losses are against 2 of the best teams in the country.
On the road in that game until the last few minutes, too.
Yeah. Altmaier's a fun player to watch.
He is. Yeah,
he's one
good.
of the most improved players from a year ago. We're talking about the QB of Illinois. So, very tough for both teams, and we'll see how it plays out.
And I have to apologize. I said Mizzou had put another good Power 5 team on their schedule. They've got KU on a future schedule. So.
KU is top 25 to start this year.
I know, and then they beat Lindenwood, and then I think they lost their next 6 in a row.
Yeah. Not great.
No, tough year for the Jayhawkers. Coming up on 101 ESPN, our buddy Jay Delsing is going to join us. I'm going to ask Jay, and I know he's listening, if he could put a golf item on his holiday list for 2024. What's it going to be? That's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues with a huge win last night as they shocked the Maple Leafs 5-1. Big game for the new additions via offer sheet. Phil Broberg opening up the scoring line and Holloway finishing up with 2 goals in that game. Your Blues are going to be back in action right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues. 101 ESPN as they face off against the Habs tomorrow. It'll be a 5 p.m. pregame for a 6 p.m. puck drop for that Blues game. Speaking of games right here on 101 ESPN, Game 1 of the World Series. First pitch tonight is at 7:08 p.m. for the Yankees and the Dodgers. And last night, Week 8 in the NFL season kicks off with the Rams' 30-20 win over the Vikings. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Last year, Live Golf opened up 3 spots on their roster. They actually have a roster, and they have a Q school to open up spots. This year, they only have 1 spot open. They're going to have a 10-person tournament, and 1 person will have the opportunity to join Live for next season. I don't know what that means, but I find it notable that they aren't adding more golfers to their roster than they have in the past. Maybe there just aren't enough good players, really good players, that are interested in joining Live. We are joined now on the celebrity line by our buddy Jay Delsing. Golf with Jay Delsing every Sunday morning, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing? I'm doing great this morning.
Good. Okay. You have every golf thing imaginable, but if you were to put a golf thing on your holiday list, people that are starting shopping now, what would you like? What's cool and new and interesting and fun?
Oh, Randy, I have 4 daughters, as you know, and this is not, I'm just myself a terrible plug, but my daughter, we have a Jay Delsing golf shop now. So everything you need that you want to have that you can't live without, that's got my name on it, we have. Hats, shirts. I'm just kidding.
No, there we go.
You don't want to get I'm going to tell you, I switched to the Spider putter. I have been a blade guy, a blade putter. So for the folks that are listening, the blade putters are thinner. They're just a little kind of more no nonsense, for lack of a better way to describe them. And I watched Scotty Scheffler, who has kind of dominated the world of golf for over 2 years and putted kind of average, switch to this thing. And so I thought, well, hell, if the world number 1 can switch, I'll switch. And I got to tell you, it's really made a difference. Especially, folks, if you struggle with short putts, it is really, really easy to line up. And it's because the head has got a little more to it. Once you start swinging it, there's momentum there. And it kind of, and this is going to sound stupid as well, but it really feels like there are times where the putter head swings itself. And it really feels good to me. So the Spider putter, and guys, sorry to interrupt you, Brooke.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So many different versions of them. There's different head sizes. It's really something you want to look at.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jay. I really didn't mean to. But you were talking about some of the best golfers in the world. I'm sure that you saw yesterday Xander Schauffele. He's just like us sometimes. Did you see what happened where he carded a quadruple bogey on the 9th hole at the Zozo Championship?
Oh, yeah, Brooke. I've always wanted to try to put together a blooper reel at the end of each week where you see the best players in the world just look really, really humble. And I did it. The game is just hard. It's just hard, and it's hard for everybody. And most of the time, these guys make it look so easy. But I don't know why, but I get a lot of pleasure out of watching them look just like the rest of us sometimes. It's really pretty cool.
Jay, I can't wait for next week. It'll be North County's historic Normandy Golf Club. It's been talked about for so long of redoing this and making it available for so many people. Jack Nicklaus came in. He designed it. This is really a special day if you're a golf fan in St. Louis.
Oh, Danny Mac, absolutely. It's called Normandy Reimagined, and the great Jack Nicklaus was kind enough to donate all of his design teams. There's still quite a bit of money needed to be raised, but the golf course sits you guys in a really kind of a crucial part of North County where we need to keep a golf course available to the residents up there and to the folks up there. And Normandy has been around forever. I think it's one of the oldest golf courses west of the Mississippi that's not a private golf course. And so Tom O'Toole, who is, man, what Tom's done for the game of golf, and he's a former president of the USGA. He used to caddy for Jim Holker. He's also, by the way, his day job, he's a very successful attorney. Has kind of spearheaded this with a bunch of us, and it's really a cool project to see. This golf course was kind of dilapidated and kind of I'm barely hanging on. And what they're going to do over there, guys, is there's going to be an endowment associated with this. So when you show up, there's going to be a caddy program that's going to be working with the Western Golf Association. So for the folks that are listening out there, if your sons or daughters want to start caddying, they can get their college paid for through the Evans Foundation. And there's an Evans House down in Mizzou, and it's 17 different universities across the country. So Normandy's going to be a big part of that. And the caddy program, Danny, as you know, is something near and dear to all of our hearts, and something that needs to be, stick around and provide these opportunities for these young men and women to caddy and to learn the game and to just just add that to their life, where they can meet some kind of neat people that's through the game of golf, and then maybe get college paid for. So this thing that Jack Nicklaus has helped us prolong is got some really, really cool, going to provide some really, really cool opportunities for our community.
Who do you guys have on the show on Sunday?
We've actually got Tom O'Toole. He's going to come in. I think we've got Mike Tucker, who is the great head pro over at Belle Reve. And, Belle Reve is going to host the 2026 BMW Championship. All the money that we raise for the BMW Championship in St. Louis in 2026 goes to the Western Golf Association for the Evans Scholarship Foundation, and for these men and women, they get free college. So it's really pretty cool. And it's guys, when they put on a golf tournament, there is so much that goes into it. It's crazy. And so Mike Tucker is going to give us some kind of a look behind the curtain on that.
Looking forward to that. Jay, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Love the show, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. Jay Delsing joining us, as he always does on Fridays, here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Tioli next on 101 ESPN.
say something. We put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Brooke, Dan, Matthew, and Randy, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. Time for Tioli. Guys, I don't know if you saw this earlier in the week, but the Dodgers have been pursuing Tommy Edman for 3 years. They've liked him for a long time. Take it or leave it. With the Dodgers showing that much interest in Tommy Edman, the Cardinals should have kept him just because of that.
Ooh, to get more out of it?
No, because if the Dodgers like a guy, that must mean he's pretty good.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't know if you were saying that maybe they should have gotten a little bit more out of the trade. Is that what?
I wonder if they could have at some point.
Yeah, that's my kind of way of thinking. I'll take it just because of that, because I feel like even if you were going to part ways with Tommy Edman, maybe you could have gotten a little bit more out of it, knowing how much the Dodgers wanted him.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it. Just because at the time you were a game and a half or 2.5 out of the wild card, you had to get pitching. He hadn't played an inning for you. And you got Brendan Donovan, you got Mason Wynn, you've got some of these guys that in center field had two different options. I'm not saying they were better, but you had two different options, and you're looking towards the future. He's going to get paid $9.5 million next year.
There was one thing, you had him under contract.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that there was the writing on the wall that if you're going to go for it, you needed to get pitching. You got Fetty, and it just made sense at the time.
Dodgers are sure good at making players better, aren't they?
They are good.
They are.
They find those deficiencies in other organizations and pluck them away.
Yep.
That's what they do. Okay, so yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins, he held his first press conference, and he said, and I quote, "I haven't played meaningful football in a couple of years. Take it or leave it." He's right, but he didn't need to say that. I will take it.
I'll leave it.
That was mean. Why did he have to say that? That was like such a low blow already. The Titans are already just like a dumpster fire. Then you just have to add to that where he was like, yeah, we haven't done anything meaningful. I haven't done anything meaningful for a team in a long time.
He threw the Cardinals under the bus, too. He said he hadn't done anything, played in a meaningful game since the Cardinals started 8-0.
Yeah.
So fantasy owners are rolling their eyes, too.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You're playing for me. Trying to get points.
That's the most important thing. Yeah.
All right, take it or leave it. The Yankees in 6.
Ooh, I like this. Yankees in 6.
I will leave it. I will go with Dodgers at 6.
I'm going to go Dodgers in 7.
I hope it goes to 7. That would be so exciting.
What do you think, Dan?
I'm going to the Yankees in 6. Dodgers are the favorite in the series via MGM, but I don't like the Dodgers pitching. I don't know if it can hold up. Now, there's been plenty of time off. There's been 6 days off between the League Championship Series and the World Series, so you can realign your starters, realign your relievers, get them some rest. But I just don't like what the Dodgers have for a long series, 6 to 7 games, and I'll take the Yankees.
Only one team in baseball won more home games than the Dodgers. So I think if it gets back to Dodger Stadium, that they have a really good chance.
That's a factor for sure. Home field advantage.
Yep. All right, Matthew, what do we have in the text line?
Take it or leave it. No team should be working with the Chiefs as far as trades. They're the defending champs, and the teams are still willing to make deals? 31 teams should be colluding to beat them.
I will take that, and I'm so glad that my text was able to come through so quickly because I just sent that in. I didn't know if we would actually see it or not, but I agree with them. Why in the world are we helping the Kansas City Chiefs continue to succeed? What are we doing here? I know that you get things back, whatever, blah, 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 but why would we help the Chiefs succeed in this?
Well, because you know that they aren't going to have DeAndre Hopkins after this year anyway, and I think it's safe to say that the Tennessee Titans are not going to win the Super Bowl. They are not going to be playing a playoff game against the Chiefs.
I just don't want to help the Chiefs.
Are you tired of excellence? Yes,
okay. I'm starting to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Michelle Smallman said that too. She's just tired of them being so good.
It happens, right? When you see a team building a dynasty, you kind of start to hate them a little bit. It happened with the Patriots. Well, I mean, there was other reasons to hate the Patriots, but that added to it.
I appreciate the excellence.
Happened with the Spurs.
Happened with the greatest show on turf.
Happened with the Cardinals.
Yeah, it sure did. Everybody hated us.
Take it or leave it. This is the only situation where you see yourself rooting for the Yankees.
Oh, leave it.
I will leave it.
I'm a Yankee fan. I like the Yankees. I have a Yankee cap at home.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's old. It's from the Tory days.
I was
Tory
going to
days.
say, it is a really good-looking hat, though.
It is a really good hat.
It's a fashionable hat.
Yeah, why would you not like the Yankees?
It's kind of like the Cardinals hat. There's people who wear the Cardinals hat who aren't Cardinals fans because it's a very clean-looking hat.
Classic, stylish. Yeah, how could you not like the Yankees?
Did you see the tweet that somebody said this is going to be a big World Series for the people who wear like the Dodgers and Yankees hat for fashion?
Yeah, huge. Yeah. Get a green one.
Who's your favorite Yankee?
Right now? I'd probably go with Judgy.
Got to go with him, right?
Yeah.
Although postseason, Giancarlo Stanton's pretty good.
He is really good.
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah. And I always found Anthony Rizzo, even though he was a Cub, to be a very likable guy.
100%.
Yeah.
So I would like Anthony Rizzo to have some success here.
Beat cancer, helps out a lot of kids. Was very visible in the community in Chicago doing so. Yeah, it's a good guy to pull for.
Take it or leave it. Army, after these recent moves, will have a better long-term legacy in St. Louis than John Mozeliak.
I'll take that. Yeah, in terms of the public perception, I don't think there's any doubt.
I think the public perception, maybe, but when you're looking at just kind of overall success of the resume, John Mozeliak does have a really good resume. You can't discount that, but recency bias is what you're talking about, right? About how people just will remember you towards the end of that resume.
Both won a championship. Obviously, Mo went to another World Series. His team went to another World Series. But I think that what separates the two is that Army is kind of cutting edge. While nobody does the restricted free agent signing, he's doing something new that the league will follow. It seems like the Cardinals are kind of following what happens now. The Cardinals are very reactionary, whereas the Blues are very proactive.
But they weren't. And then the league caught up to them, and now they're trying to make that adjustment. I think anytime that you bring the first championship to a town, that adds to the legacy, the resume, and first Stanley Cup in over 50 years. I mean, that's a huge deal here in town.
Also, the things that he's doing, we talked about it. Those offer sheets, those new acquisitions that he brought in. On his way out, he'll look really good.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. We're watching the final starts for Daniel Jones, the New York Giant.
I'll take it. After this season, especially since the owner said they're going to keep the GM and coach.
Yeah.
Says he wants to be patient with him, but something's got to change. So I guess Daniel Jones will be what changes.
And he's owed over $100 million still? Yeah.
Yeah, they signed him last year. Yikes.
That's so bad.
Swallow that. That's not easy to do.
Michael Lombardi came out and said he was insulted by the New York Giants on their Hard Knocks off-season version. He said that he was insulting watching their front office work. It was like watching people manage a fantasy team. I was like, Jesus. That was Michael Lombardi talking about them.
Okay, they were talking about this morning. Not this, but I was thinking about this during Unsportsmanlike. Take it or leave it. With Kyle Shanahan's history of getting Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy to Super Bowls, you would trade Brock Purdy before giving him a $50 million a year contract if you were the 49ers.
I wouldn't do that.
No.
I bought into him. I'm in. I know he's got a lot of talent around him, but he makes people better too.
What if Kyle Shanahan, rather than having them spend $50 million a year on Purdy, could get 2 years of Kirk Cousins at $30 million a year?
Now that's a little different. Yeah, that's a little different. That's the guy I was thinking about if you're going to go get him.
Yeah, trade Purdy to the Giants or whatever. Let them give him that contract and then save $20 million a year to keep some of your stars around, and then draft another guy that Shanahan can develop and take to a Super Bowl.
At what point, though, do you say he's not a product of the system? I mean, he's winning. He makes good throws. He puts you in a position to win. At what point do you say this guy's pretty good?
I think he's really good. I don't know that we've had the ability to see him make others around him better. Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, all really good players. Because Garoppolo did it with him. So I don't think that Purdy is necessarily elevating those guys. I would consider that if I could keep other guys around and move Purdy.
I don't know. I feel like that you have to stick with Purdy here. You did have a lot of injuries this season, though, too. So that factors into what we've seen with him this year.
This isn't a reflection on Purdy as much as it is that he'll have to be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To go from where he's at.
Season.
Yeah, but I think the Niners, because of Shanahan's history, by the way, he did draft Trey Lance. I don't know if he wanted Trey Lance, but they drafted Trey Lance. But because he's pretty good at picking out quarterbacks. He came into John Lynch's office early in Purdy and Lance's first season and said, "We got a problem." And Lynch said, "What?" He said, "Well, our Mr. Irrelevant is a better quarterback than the third pick in the draft."
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think we talk enough about that he was Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, it gets kind of mentioned, but man, all these people forgot about him and passed over him, didn't even look at him as a legitimate guy. And he's turning out to...
It's amazing.
He's going to wind up getting one of the biggest deals this offseason.
It's a great story.
It is.
Take it or leave it, you might spend a little bit of time tuning into Edmonton Oilers hockey radio today.
Take it. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yikes.
That has to be brutal for them to see this.
Yeah.
My favorite part is
So
just how
sad.
everybody we've had on is just like, I don't really know what they were watching up there because this guy looks incredible. Like it's not just like us. It's just like every expert we've had on has been like had this like stupefying moment where they've just been like, I don't know how they let him get away. He's really big and he skates really fast. What don't you see him on the ice? Just even in like practice that you don't go, yeah, we need to find a way to keep this guy.
And he had a great postseason. I mean, that's the thing. He was on display.
In a team that needed somebody else other than their just top offensive players to do something. He did something.
Edmonton.
Well, real quickly, I'd love to ask him how much better he got going up in practice against Draisaitl and against McDavid.
Yeah, good point.
How much that made him a better player.
Even with Draisaitl and McDavid right now, the Edmonton Oilers are last in the league in goals scored with 14.
That's absolutely nuts.
I would imagine Broberg's got to be he would be among their tops in points this year. He'd probably be one or two.
Does he have 8 now or 7?
I think he's got 7.
And the leading point getter for the Oilers is Connor McDavid with 8.
Wow. He's one off McDavid.
Yep. McDavid with 3 goals, 5 assists, leading their team in each of those categories.
It's a steal, man.
Yeah.
And they're so young, too. There's just, I don't see the downside of this whatsoever.
Genius move by Army.
It's pretty good. I think we're going to see more teams do this, too.
I think so, too.
He opened up the door.
Yep. Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, Randy.
And thank you very much for your text. We do appreciate them. Coming up next, which game is bigger for the team this weekend? Mizzou at Alabama or Illinois at Oregon? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Now, this week is a little bit different, so we're not doing anything outside of our norm to get ready for Oregon, except for to play Oregon, who's number one. They've lost one game at home over the last 2.5 years. Like, to do what we are trying to do is very unique. So because of that, our preparation, our game plan, the details of our performance are very, very different, and we got to recognize that. But, you know, the other key factor is we're actually going to leave tomorrow. We're going out a day earlier than we do most, just because when you go west for 2-hour time zone changes, that's kind of the standard norm. So even though it's a little bit different, you got to understand our guys got to stay in the norm. So the outside world thinks we're 6-1. Every week in our building, we try to go 1-0.
That's Illini coach Brett Bielema on Wednesday here on the Opening Drive. His 20th ranked Illini visit number 1 Oregon tomorrow. As you heard, they're already in Eugene, Oregon. The Illini are 6-1. Yeah, they're trying to go 1-0 this weekend, and they take on 7-0 Oregon. Oregon is a 22-point favorite. Meanwhile, Mizzou goes on the road as well. They take on Alabama. Alabama, a 17-point favorite. They're 15th in the country. Mizzou is number 21. And Alabama, I think we can all agree, is desperate. If there is a time, if there has been in the last 17 years for Alabama to be desperate, it's now, because they might have a chance, the way the schedule has shaken out so far, to be a playoff team with 2 losses. They have no chance to be a playoff team with 3 losses.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a bigger game, honestly, for Mizzou this weekend, because you're facing Alabama. This is the last chance for Mizzou to pick up a statement or signature win this season, which honestly they haven't. That game last weekend against Auburn was fantastic. You were able to have Brady Cook come back. That was masterful for him to come back in that game when he went to the hospital. Great story, but that's more of a character win rather than a signature win. Mizzou doesn't have that yet. This is the last game on their schedule where they can make a statement impact win, because then they have Oklahoma, they have South Carolina, they have Mississippi State, they have Arkansas. This is your last chance in the playoff committee's eyes to really make a statement. If they don't beat Alabama this weekend, I don't really know what this means for their playoff hopes.
I would say, too, losing to number 1 on the road in a place that Oregon just doesn't lose doesn't look as bad as when you go to, and I know it's Tuscaloosa, I know it's Alabama, but you lose to the number 1 team in the country at their place. It's not as bad, I don't think, even though it's tough in Alabama, don't get me wrong, but losing to the number 1 team in the country at their place, I don't think is as bad. You posed the question, what's more important? I think it's more important for Missouri to win. Interesting text here. I happen to agree with it. 314 says, based on preseason expectations of going to the college football playoff, it's way bigger for Missouri. When they lose, the playoff dream is over. Illinois is playing with house money. I kind of feel the same way. This is one of those, I don't know if it's a dream season, but it's a really good season, and one that I don't think many people expected from Illinois this year.
For Vegas, tomorrow would be a major upset. I would think for the country, tomorrow would be a major upset if Alabama would fall to Mizzou. That being said, with what's happened to Alabama in their last 3 games, where you had a 7-point win over South Carolina and 2 losses, if Missouri would win out here and go 11-1, I wonder how they would be regarded by the committee. Their style points, they don't even have a style point win this year, right? So if you beat Alabama and win out with the rest of your schedule, I don't know that there's enough there to show the committee that you're one of the best 11 teams. After Alabama, you've got Oklahoma 20-point underdog to Ole Miss. Then you've got South Carolina. That might be their best remaining test at South Carolina. Then at Mississippi State and Arkansas at home.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think that Texas A&M loss for Mizzou really comes back to haunt them, because the manner in which you lost 45-10, you didn't have any of those big injuries at the time, too, on the Mizzou side of things. And so I think that's something that comes back to haunt them. And with Illinois, Dan, to your point about this weekend, their resume looks a lot better. Say if that's just their second loss of the season against Oregon, your 2 losses are against 2 of the best teams in the country, because Penn State, their other loss this season, at the time they were 8th or 9th in the country, but now they're number 3 in the country in the AP Top 25. That looks better on your resume rather than Mizzou in this situation.
And Illinois should win out after tomorrow.
Right. They got Minnesota, Michigan State, Rutgers, Northwestern.
Yeah.
Those are all winnable games. For Missouri, I don't think you can discount winning at South Carolina. I think that's a tough place to go and win. So they would get some credit in my book for that. And I still think that it's not a pushover to go to Mississippi State and win that game, too. Not easy. You got Alabama. You got an awful Oklahoma team, and they are bad. I mean, they can't score. Then at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, and then Arkansas right after Thanksgiving. So if you're Missouri, it's pretty important. You got to try to win this game. If you do, then you have your signature win, and then win the rest of the way out, which is a tall order, but that's how they're going to have to get in the college football playoff.
So what happens for Mizzou if they do lose this weekend? So you have 2 losses, say that is just the 2 losses that they have for the season. What happens and how are they viewed in the playoff committee's minds?
I don't think they're a factor. I don't either. I'm not even sure with 1 loss. If you're the committee, let's try to be rational here. Are you going to okay, so let's assume that A&M would lose another game here. So they would finish with 2 losses in the conference. Or no, Mizzou would win out, and A&M would have a loss. And by the way, A&M has LSU tomorrow. But A&M's 2 losses would be to Notre Dame, number 7 in the country, and then to LSU. And they would have beaten in that time, obviously, Missouri 41-9. They would have beaten South Carolina. They would have beaten Texas. So if you're the committee, do you like A&M over Texas, a 2-loss A&M over a 1-loss Mizzou? I think I would.
What about the style points or lack thereof of the Texas A&M loss?
Mm-hmm.
That hurts. And not being able to do anything. I know you didn't have your quarterback, but not being able to do anything against Auburn, too.
I agree. And Auburn is a good team, not a great team. Vanderbilt took them to OT, won the game, looking better every week, obviously, with the way that they played. But part of this is being on national TV and having people see you like they're seeing Mizzou. And Mizzou looked awful in that game at Texas A&M. It was terrible.
I just think it's going to be hard to have the committee look at Mizzou, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, and A&M and say Mizzou is better than 3 of those. You know, it's because they would be a 4th SEC team, right?
Yep, they would be.
So I just kind of, and I want Mizzou to win. But the committee, there's a lot of history with that committee. They say that they're rational and they don't care about the logo on the side of the helmet. They do. And A&M, LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, I think all are going to walk in with more cachet than Mizzou does.
And in terms of Illinois, I got to wonder how much the Purdue game hurts them. They win the game, but gave up, 40 points in the second half?
Yep, 49 overall.
Yeah, that one, you talk about style points, and they go back and look at these games.
Yep.
It's a win, but not a great one for them in terms of being in convincing fashion to be one of the teams that you seriously look at.
And by the way, let me, Brooke, throw this out there. I think Illinois runs into the same problem with perception and history. When you're talking
100%.
about Oregon, when you're talking about Penn State, when you're talking about Ohio State, there's going to be, just because of history, I think a lean towards those schools ahead of Illinois.
I think so, too. I think that really matters a lot. And I think that the Texas A&M, I think I was saying 45-10. It was 41-10. Still close there. But that game, I think, will come back to haunt Mizzou. We have a question here from the 309. If Illinois loses a close game and wins out and is 10-2 with losses to 2 top 5 teams, any chance they sneak into the playoffs?
I think that is so difficult, again, because you've got Oregon, because you've got Penn State. What does Indiana do the rest of the way? You don't get a shot at Indiana, and after tomorrow, they play Washington at home. Indiana could get them. Indiana could, they're at Ohio State. So if they win, if they have 1 loss and it's to Ohio State, who do you choose between Indiana and Illinois?
Indiana.
Yeah.
I think so.
And Indiana has not trailed in any of their games this year. Not 1 minute.
Wow.
I mean, that's amazing.
That is.
The job that they've done.
I just, again, I think from looking at it from the committee's eyes, look at the historic teams before you get to Indiana. You've got Oregon, you've got Penn State, you've got Ohio State. Plus, you've got Indiana jumping in there. Are you going to put... The key is, would you put Illinois ahead of Indiana? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can right now.
If Illinois doesn't win tomorrow,
right.
They win tomorrow, all bets are off. Then they're a top 5.
And I think you look at the expectations, too. We were discussing that going into the season. Illinois, I wasn't expecting them to do this season. And maybe I was just really underestimating them. But I felt like the expectations were a lot higher for Mizzou going into this year than Illinois.
Oh, people expected, even nationally on ESPN, they expected Missouri to be a playoff team. No doubt about it. Illinois wasn't thought of as a playoff team. This is, heck, Brett Bielema was on the hot seat when the season started.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So
It reminded me of like Drink last year against K-State.
Right.
If they don't win that game, he's on the hot seat.
Totally, yeah.
And now he's the 11th highest paid coach in America.
Pretty good.
It makes a difference when you win.
That's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. It's 8:13. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up, Blues analyst Joe Vitale joins us from Canada here on 101 ESPN.
Price just went up on car insurance? Check us out at carltoninsurance.net.
Center's Nissan Herculaneum, their fall into savings event. Well, that has been extended through the month of October. Low finance rates available right now, like 0% APR on Pathfinders, Rogues, and Altimas, plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on Frontier. Low lease payment options like $329 per month on the 2024 Rogue. You're going to love the savings and the financing deals that they have at Auto Center's Nissan. They've got over 700 new and used vehicles all in one location. The largest and best used selection in St. Louis. You're bound to find the perfect vehicle to match your lifestyle and your budget. New Nissans and select used vehicles come with their complimentary lifetime warranty. New Nissans come with a 30-day new car return promise and complimentary Nissan maintenance plan. When you head out to Herculaneum, tell me Anthony Stalter from 101 ESPN sent you. If you check them out online, view them at AutoCentersNissan.com. It's Auto Centers Nissan, Herculaneum.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
In business, service is everything. Cintas delivers what you need to better serve your customers. Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, tested and inspected fire protection systems, first aid and safety supplies, on-site AED training, or mops and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better workdays happen together. So visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
The 101 Reward Center is always loaded up with awesome giveaways. And right now, we have your chance to win a tailor-made golf bag.
Nice.
Get entered to win that sleek, tailor-made golf bag right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Everything St. Louis Louis Blues as we head into the Blues booth on 101 ESPN. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors. Find your perfect new floor at boardwalkhardwood.com.
Brooke, Dan, and Randy, opening drive, 101 ESPN. The Blues with an impressive 5-1 win at Toronto last night. And the Blues play at Montreal tomorrow night. So joining us from Canada is Joe Vitale, one of our all-time favorites. Joey, good morning. What's your favorite part of Canada?
Not being there, Randy. I'm actually in St. Louis, which is even better. Yeah,
I ended up clearly not being there is the answer.
This is what I love about Canada when I'm not there. I'm doing the TV pre-intermission post all trip. Bernie Federko had a last minute, apparently a lifetime golf trip, like once in a lifetime golf trip he could not pass up on. He asked me to switch road trips with him, so I will be home throughout this Canada run. It's over Halloween. Could it be St. Louis for Halloween or Ottawa? To me, it was a great decision and an easy one for me, so I'm happy to be around. And we did the TV intermission post last night. Beautiful game there. And so I am not really missing Canada all that much.
And by the way, I have done that once-in-a-lifetime Riverside golf trip, and it's great. That's just a great, fun time.
I've heard great things about it. I know he was super geeked up about it. So I think he's going to be gone for the next few days. And you love to see the Hall of Famer kick back and try to enjoy some golf, because if anyone deserves it, he certainly does.
Have you ever insulted a whole country in one word before? Or one sentence?
That's the thing. Can you really hurt anyone if you're insulting a piece of land? I don't know. To me, you can insult someone's appearance if that could hurt their feelings, or you can insult someone's home, or when you talk about someone's city or a country. Who can really be offended? I'm not really talking to you. I'm just talking to the land you live on.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, poutine, yes or no then? Maybe they'll find something about this offensive.
No, Brooke, poutine, when I was in my 20s maybe, but I have a plate of poutine now. My rear end jiggles for a week. I can't keep up with that poutine anymore.
I want to ask you, can we talk hockey, Joe? Is that okay?
Sure, sure.
How about all the goal scorers being 25 years or younger last night? That was kind of a glimpse into the future, wasn't it?
Dan, not only 25 years younger, that game really was a Doug Armstrong-built win. And what I mean by that is, you got Broberg with the 2 goals. You got, Holloway with the 2 goals. You got Broberg with the opening goal. Texier got a huge goal there in the second period, and this was shortly after Toronto made it a 1-goal game, and they were starting to really press. And then all of a sudden, Alexander Texier gets on the board. Of course, Jake Neighbors, another terrific goal there as well, right after a 2-year extension last week. So, you know what? We had foresight when Armstrong brought in these Edmonton boys. You sign Alexander Texier to a wonderful contract there, and you get him in the trade. He's been in Columbus for 5 years on a bad team, so the wherewithal to see that this is a good player on a bad team, you bring him in, he's made an impact on that top line like he did last night. And these new coming players, sometimes it takes some time, but it's been crazy. They have adjusted so quickly. I compare it a little bit to that 18-19 season when Bozak, Maroon, O'Reilly, they all come in, a lot of new faces. David Perron again, but that took them a long time to get going. Look at the Nashville Predators right now with Stamkos. You look at Marcia, you look at Shea. They're having a rough time coming out of the gates because there's a lot of newness. Were the Blues going to be faced with the same kind of newness problem? We didn't know, but certainly they're showing that they're not. And the new coming players have adjusted so incredibly quickly. They're young. They have such a bright future, and I keep going back to the same thing that Doug Armstrong has set this team up for a wonderful decade of hockey ahead for us.
Hey, Joey, Broberg turns 23 during the summer. He's played 89 career regular season games in the NHL. What to you is most impressive? When you throw in the age and the experience, what impresses you most about Broberg?
Well, his decision making and his I'm going to call it his cowboyness. And what I mean by that, and I love using the term cowboy with players like him, because there's just this youthful fearfulness or fearlessness, let's just say, where you're almost like a child. I watch my children and they're on the playground and they're doing just the things fearlessly because they don't even quite know the dangers of what they're doing. Broberg, he to me plays that style. He's a cowboy in the sense that he just goes for it, and he's not really thinking about the consequence. And I think that you love to see it out of a young player. You know, when he jumps up in the rush, he'll take chances. You know, a lot of young players, Randy, come into the league and they hold their stick tight, and they always think, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. And what ends up happening is you're so focused on not making a mistake, you end up making a lot of mistakes. And then all of a sudden you start kind of falling into this quicksand style of game where you just never find your rhythm, and it takes you years to find that confidence and that state of game that when you're at your best. Broberg's kind of the opposite. You know, he comes in, and Justin Falk and I were talking about him a few days ago, and Justin Falk said this is probably the easiest hockey that he's ever played in his career, playing next to Broberg, and he's just letting him go. And Broberg every now and then will pitch in, hey, what do you think about this? And Falk keeps saying, no, just keep going. It's going great. You're working up great, and just keep going into the offensive zone. So it's impressive to me that he has that kind of fearlessness in his game at such a young age. And you know what? He's contributing so well on the offensive side of things. And, you know, he was brought in to be a defensively, you know, young Jay Bomeister style of player, maybe Carl Gunnarsson, great decisions with the puck, and skate very well. But this whole offensive side that we're seeing is certainly a cherry on top. And keep in mind, he was a player like Texier. Texier was a good player on a bad team. Broberg was a good player on a good team, but he was also behind Bouchard. He was behind a Darnell Nurse. So the opportunity in Edmonton, it just wasn't there. So now you're on a little bit lesser of a team in the St. Louis Blues compared to the Edmonton Oilers, and all of a sudden you're playing 4 or 5 more minutes a night, and maybe that's just what the young kid needed to do.
Joey, I know that as you mentioned, you were not on the broadcast last night, but one of my favorite parts of the postgame show with you and Curbs is when you give out your Joey V work boots of the game. So since you weren't there, Cam Jansen filling in, who would you give your work boots to for last night's performance?
Yeah, that was an easy one for me, Brooke. It would be Jake Neighbors. You know, not only another terrific goal for Jake, you know, there was one play in the game that I really think, aside from, you know, a couple of the block shots and great steals he had, he was physical. There was one play in the game, and you know, the work boots, what are the work boots? It's not necessarily a star of the game. Those are for the 3 stars. It's not necessarily a goal scorer. Sometimes it's those subtle things you don't, you know, notice if you're a common fan, but something I pick up on. Maybe it is a hard block shot late in the game. Maybe it's a scrap. Typically, if you're getting a fight, that's worthy of work boots. It's one of the bravest things I think anyone can do in sports. Is, I mean, you think about a fight. I mean, most of us have never been in a fist fight in our entire lives, and here these guys are dropping their gloves in a fist fight. And oh, by the way, we're gonna put you on ice, and we're gonna have you stand on razor blades while trying to keep your balance while fist fighting another human in front of 18,000 people and then millions watching on TV. Oh, and there's something called YouTube where whatever happens in this fight, if you get knocked out, it's going to be there forever. Trust me, I know, because my last fight's still out there on YouTube and kids make fun of me all the time. So they put that in a nutshell. If you're getting a fight, to me, it's work boot worthy. Now, Jake Neighbors last night, the play I'm talking about is, you know, you look at Toronto forward Nyes in the third period, I believe. He takes it hard to the net. He kind of gives a bump to Jordan Binnington after he makes a save, and then Mayhem breaks loose a little bit. Everyone kind of jumps in there, and then it was actually Jake Neighbors that ties up Nyes. He kind of wrangles him, throws him to the ground in the headlock. And is it a fight? No. Were there any majors? No. But to me, it was just a play in the game that showed, I think, the attitude and where the growth of this team is going. You know, last couple of years, Binnington, Hofer, they've been bumped, and kind of there was no response. And again, you don't need to fight, but you just need to let the other team know that, hey, we're here, and that's unacceptable. And that's exactly what Jake Neighbors did last night. It's a small little play, but I think it sets such a great tone for your team that we're all in, all for one for all type of deal. And that was certainly a wonderful play for me, and that's worthy of the work boots for Jake Neighbors.
I think something else that gets overlooked, Joey, last night was Jordan Kyrou. A lot of little things that he was doing right. And the last 2 games, I've noticed what he's been like on the forecheck, and we all expect him to score goals, don't get me wrong, but just some of the little things that he's done the last 2 games.
You know, Dan, you must have been listening and watching my post game last night on FanDuel Sports, because it's exactly what I said. Yeah, he's been awesome. I think that not awesome in the sense that he's scoring a lot of goals, because he hasn't over the last 2 games. Yeah, he's gotten a few assists, and that's all gravy, but it's the plays he's making away from the puck. It's the effort you're seeing on the forecheck. It's the effort you're seeing on the back check. He just seems completely invested right now in doing the little things to help the team win. Not about his individual success. This is about the team game. You go back to the play last night, the first opening goal, face off in the offensive zone. He whips it around. He's using his speed, 2 cutbacks, ends up losing Tanev, a really good defenseman for Toronto, creates a little time and space for himself, sets up Broberg, and all of a sudden the Blues are on the board. But his forecheck, you go back to the Texier goal, his forecheck has been on top of it. Usually he's the high guy. He likes to come in late. He likes to be the guy in the slot. Well, guess what? Sometimes you're going to have to put your hard hat on and go to work, and he's done that. On that goal in particular, Buchnevich, a hard forward, he's in there. Kyrou, he's right behind him. He's supporting him. They're battling together. They're working together, and they set up that huge Texier goal in the third period. Like I mentioned, you go back to the Winnipeg game, both side goals. Again, it's hard forecheck through Thomas and through Kyrou. These skilled players in the National Hockey League, you're starting to see a trend in a certain way. And if these skilled players don't pick up on this trend, they're going to be out of this league. And the trend is the days of Brett Hall, the days of Patrick Kane floating on the outside, looking for your opportunities, those days are done. Like, if you're a skilled player in this league, you have to be able to work. I was talking to Alexander Steen about this a couple weeks ago. It was a great conversation in the hallway. He was talking about Kirill Kaprizov right after the Blues lost the Minnesota Wild. You look at David Pastrnak play. These guys are super skilled. Great shots, great hands, everything. Great vision, high hockey IQ. But make no mistake, those two players, they work. They really work at their trade, and they know that sometimes you got to go in, dump it in, and just get to work. So for Thomas, for Kyrou, for Buchnevich, you're starting to see if they can really start to catch fire with that idea that on top of their skill, you have to be able to work. This team can really go places. So to me, the last 2 games, I agree with you, Dan. It has been such a wonderful growth to me to see Jordan Kyrou not only make those razzle-dazzle plays, but making great decisions at the right time of the game to just chip it in and go to work.
Joey V, great stuff. We'll be tuned in tomorrow night, Blues and Canadians. You'll have the pregame on FanDuel Sports Network. Have a great weekend, sir.
Sounds good, you three. You guys have a great weekend as well. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. See you later. Joey Vitale with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we need a fighter for the fight. Text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO with your name and the word fight, and maybe you will fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues last night with a big 5-1 win over former head coaches Craig Berube Maple Leafs. The win was propelled big time by Philip Broberg, who got the game started with his opening goals. He continues his sharp play. And then the other offer-sheet player for the Blues, Dylan Holloway, had 2 goals throughout the game, including the empty netter for the Blues' 5th and final in the game. The Note will be back in action facing off against the Habs tomorrow evening. You can catch the game right here on 101 ESPN, your home for the St. Louis Blues. 5 p.m. pregame show for a 6 p.m. puck drop. NFL Week 8 kicked off last night with a Rams 30-20 win over the Vikings, and a college football game also last night as that week kicks off. Number 16, Pitt, facing off against Syracuse. They get a big win, 41-13 in a turnover-prone game. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Listener, and in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive, please welcome Randy Karraker.
Welcome back, and this is Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocco here, and it is time for the fight, and our fighter this Friday is Luke. Luke, how are you doing?
Not too bad. How's it
going? Uh-oh. Kind of cut out a little bit. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Luke.
Okay.
There we go. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
This is my first time in the fight.
Wow. Was this an entire week of first-time fighters?
I think after Monday, I think we got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think I did not get a first-time fighter on Monday, but 4 out of 5, I'll take it.
This is a pretty big deal. Dan, any advice for the first-time fighter?
Oh, I think you know what I'm about to say. Get the puck deep, get in the greasy areas, be physical. Randy's ready to go. He's fired up. It's a Friday.
Be physical?
Be physical over the phone, man.
Who is he fighing?
He's fighting Randy.
I mean, but I'm talking about the physical aspect of this. Don't hurt anybody you might be around, Luke.
Do whatever you got to do.
I like the Blues reference. They had a good game last night.
They sure did. Are you ready to go for the fight?
I'm going to do my best. All
right.
Sure.
Good luck. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Okay, here we go, Luke, with question number 1. There are 3 Blues to win the Lady Byng Award, the last time being the 1999-2000 season. Who won it? Is it Pavel Demitra, Craig Conroy, or Pierre Turgeon?
Let's go with Pavel Demitra.
All right, Luke, off to a good start. Yogi Berra won 10 World Series as a player and then added another 3 as a coach for a career total of 13 wins, 21 appearances. With which other franchise did he win a World Series? Was it the A's, the Astros, or the Mets?
Let's go Mets.
Now, did you mean to say it like as their theme, Let's Go Mets, or was that the answer, Let's Go Mets?
The answer.
Both are appropriate. Okay.
Here's question number 3, Luke. Happy birthday to a St. Louis favorite, Kelly Chase. Chaser sits in second place in Blues franchise history in penalty minutes for a single season and career. Which Blues skater does he trail for the top spot in career penalty minutes for the Note? Is it Bob Gassoff, Chris Pronger, or Brian Sutter?
Let's go Bob Gassoff.
And question number 4, which NBA father-son duo is the highest scoring combo in NBA history? Is it the Currys, the Bryants, or the LeBrons?
Not the LeBrons. Let's go with Bryant.
All right, final answer?
Yes.
Okay, let me go grab Randy.
Kind of left us hanging for a minute. How are you feeling, Luke?
Come on in, Randy.
A little short, but we'll see how it goes. Not too great.
Well, we're going into the Friday. Maybe Randy is just looking forward to Friday or the weekend, and he might be a little bit off his game. But I have some bad news, Luke. He did just walk in with a Mountain Dew, and that typically means that he will be really on his game. And the grapes are gone, so you have a twofer that you have to face with Randy this morning. Uh-oh. Yes, right. Randy, say hi to Luke.
Luke, good morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing, Randy?
Doing great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing this morning. We do appreciate it.
You bet.
Ready for question number 1, Randy?
I'm ready, Brooke.
Okay, here we go. There are 3 Blues to win the Lady Byng Award, the last time being the 1999-2000 season. Who won it?
99-2000 Lady Byng. I'm going to go with Pavel Demitra as the Lady Byng winner. He was a gentlemanly sort, so I will go with Pavel Demitra.
Okay.
Not Kelly Chase.
Well, just hold on for question 3 with that.
Okay.
Yogi Berra won 10 World Series as a player, then added another 3 as a coach. Career total of 13 wins. He had 21 appearances. With which other franchise did he win a World Series?
I believe he might have been with the 1969 New York Mets. 69 Mets.
The Amazons.
Yep.
In 69.
Yeah, I'll go with them.
All right. Question 3.
Question 3. Happy birthday to a St. Louis favorite, Kelly Chase. Chaser sits in second place in Blues franchise history in penalty minutes for a single season and career. Which Blues skater does he trail for the top spot in career penalty minutes for the note?
I'm going to go with Sudsy. Brian Sutter for career. Is Steve Durbano, did he have the single season? Or no, Losey had the single game. Did Steve Durbano have like 3? No, it wasn't. I was trying to think.
Durbano is tied with Chaser for the 10th best in single season.
Okay. Steve Durbano was a goon.
He was a goon. he was a total goon. By the way, have you... I don't know if you know the answer to this or updated. Where is and what is Brian Sutter doing these days? Any idea?
He's up in Calgary working the farm.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, he was part of the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago.
Good. He came. I remember he came back for that.
He came back for the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. I interviewed Sudsy when he went into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
What a quality human being.
Absolutely. Which NBA father-son duo is the highest scoring combo in NBA history?
I am going to go with... I think I might have to go with LeBron and Bronny. I know you've got Rick and John or Brent Barry. I don't think any of Jordan's kids played in the league. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Jr. never made it into the league. Danny, I'll do the lifeline just for fun.
The Currys, the Bryants, or the LeBrons?
Oh, and this is single father, single son, right?
Yes.
So do we go... I'm gonna leave the Bryants out of this. So I'm going to go with either the Currys or the Jameses. And I'm going to go with LeBron and Bronny.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Matthew?
We have a winner in today's fight. Another first-timer takes on Randy. There has been no first-time luck, no beginner's luck for the fighters on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Does Luke, with a little beginner's luck behind him, take down Randy Karraker, or does Megamind keep on rolling through this week? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
I'm sorry, Luke. Randy Karraker hit the jack, and he took you down by a score of 4-2 today.
Yeah, I didn't think I had a chance at making mine. I'm glad I got a few of those right, though.
There you go.
Thanks, Luke.
You made a good showing of it, Luke. Thank you so much for joining the show. Let's go through the questions and the answers. There are 3 Blues to win the Lady Byng Award the last time, being the 1999-2000 season. It was, in fact, Pavel Demitra who took home the award that year. Yogi Berra won 10 World Series as a player and then added another 3 as a coach for a career total of 13 wins in 21 appearances. It was, in fact, those miracle 1969 Mets that he was a coach for. He then would go on to rejoin the Yankees for 2 of their World Series in the 70s.
Also managed the Mets, right? In the early 70s?
He did.
Yeah, managed them. And then he also spent his last few years as a coach with the
Astros.
He's the Astros, yeah.
And I also, let's not forget that he managed the Yankees, too, for 16 games or something. And
He'd always be he was like Red.
Yeah.
He'd come in, somebody get fired, then
What a
he'd
true
fill
New
in.
Yorker. He spent his entire career in New York, had so much success, and then at the very end of his career, he went to a warmer state.
Yeah, that's cool.
Happy birthday to St. Louis favorite, Kelly Chase. Chaser sits in second place in Blues franchise history in penalty minutes for a single season and a career. Which Blues skater does he trail for the top spot in career penalty minutes? It is, in fact, Brian Sutter. He trails for the career penalty minutes. The single season is Bob Gassoff, who is the only Blue to ever pass 300 for one season in penalty minutes. If you look at the top 10 in penalty minutes for for the Blues franchise, there's actually 11 because Chaser tied the guy you said whose name I'm blanking.
Steve Durbano.
He tied Durbanos for the 10th highest total overall. Kelly Chase has 5 of the top 10 best penalty minute seasons in Blues history.
One interesting note, and Dan knows this too, you might think that Tony Twist, because he was an enforcer, would be on this list. Twister did not take 2-minute penalties. Twister was a very disciplined hockey player and very disciplined in fighting, too. But the reason that he doesn't have a ton of penalty minutes is because he didn't slash anybody. He didn't trip anybody. He was a really disciplined player.
And I imagine the mindset there was if he got taken off the ice, then they were free to go after somebody for a minute without retribution. So he needed to be out there at any time to jump off the ice and go murder someone.
One of my all-time favorites is
putting himself offsides.
Well, that was good. But when I think it was McCarty, one of those guys from that goofy line in Detroit with McCarty, Draper, and
Kosher.
And or maybe what was the French Canadian that they had too? They had another guy. I'll think of it. But anyway,
are you thinking Claude Lemieux with?
No, this was with Detroit because when. He was bothering the Blues, might have been Hall at the time, and Twister skates by the Detroit bench and says to Scotty Bowman, he said, "Hey, tell your guy to settle down, or Eiterman will never play again." And he settled down immediately.
Yeah.
And then our final question. I thought you might call me a trick question on this one, Randy. Which father-son duo is the highest scoring combo in NBA history with 40,490 points and then 0 for Bronny? The LeBron Jameses are the number 1 scoring duo in history. Number 2 is the Bryants with 38,000. That's 33 from Kobe and 5,000 from Bean, or Jelly Bean, I should say. And then the Currys are at 23,000 from Steph and 12,000 from Dell, number 3 with 36,000. So the LeBron's there with over 40,000. Thanks so much again to Luke for joining the fight and joining the show.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. I don't think it was Martin Lapointe. Maybe it was McCarty. I think it might have been Darren McCarty. And then Chaser would always talk about Draper. You know, his gloves are glued to his hands. He would never drop his gloves. Coming up, a guy that...
I love it when Twister put himself offside.
It was great.
Flipped the puck in and beat the puck to the blue line.
We saw the other night that Robert Thomas got involved in the scrappy stuff before he blocked a shot. He was playing a gritty game, and the Blues center, who joins us every week, is going to join us next on 101 ESPN.
by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Karraker, the opening drive on 101 ESPN, and we are always pleased to visit with Blues center Robert Thomas every week. Not under these circumstances, though, because Robert suffered a fractured ankle in the game against Winnipeg earlier this week, and he's on the Celebrity Line now on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Doing all right. Thanks, guys.
What's your mobility like as you try to walk around and navigate the house?
It's pretty limited. I pretty much go to treatment and sit on the couch for the rest of the day right now, so not too exciting.
Yeah, Robert, we are very sad to hear that you're dealing with this right now. Just watching the game, I'm sure as you did last night, though, that was a huge win for your team and what they were able to accomplish, especially in your absence. What stood out to you about the victory against the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, it's always so much more nerve-wracking watching the game than actually playing in it. I feel like I'm having like a freak out while I watch the game, but obviously going into Toronto, they're a great team. A team that's they're exactly where we were in the standings, 4-3, and it's a big game for both teams. And to go in and play the way that those guys did and really dominate the game from the start to finish, it was really cool to see.
Robert, when you freak out when you're watching the Blues play, do you scream? Do you yell at the TV? What does a freak out entail for Robert Thomas watching a game?
No, I just get really nervous. I don't know why. Like, I could play 100 games, not be nervous, but as soon as you're watching your team play, you get so nervous because you can't do anything. So, your hands get a little grimy. It's a terrible feeling. But I wasn't too nervous after the first period last night, which was nice.
Robert, what have they told you about your recovery and in terms of how long you might be out, and then what do you do in trying to rehabilitate that to get back on the ice?
Yeah, to be honest, right now, I'm not too sure. You kind of got to wait for swelling to go down and all that stuff. So, it's looking like I think they put out 6 weeks. So hopefully you try and get back earlier, and hopefully everything goes perfectly. But at this point, you don't really know. You're just kind of waiting for the swelling to go down and for the bone to heal.
And pretty clear that you knew that you were sore, but you actually came back and played for a couple of shifts after you got hit, right? Did you have any idea what it was when you got hit?
I was about 95% sure it was broken right when I got hit. Mm-hmm. You kind of get some adrenaline and stuff going, and I was like, I could probably get a couple more shifts. And then as soon as that TV timeout hit, and I was sitting there for a minute and a half, I was like, this probably isn't good. I'm probably not going to be able to keep playing here. So, it sucked. I could feel it right away, and there's not really. It's a pretty shitty feeling.
Is there anything that you can do to try to stay in hockey shape? I know that may be a really dumb question with a guy dealing with a broken ankle, but is there anything you can do to try to stay in some semblance of shape?
Yeah, at some point. It's hard right now. You want to keep your body pretty neutral and give it all its energy to healing that bone. And but yeah, definitely in a week or two, you definitely can start working and keeping the rest of your body in shape and keeping your cardio up, and those things are really important so that when you come back, you're prepared and ready to go.
How are you kind of keeping in contact with the team? Do you kind of leave them alone a little bit, or are you still maybe in a group text chatting with the guys, with some pep talk or stuff?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Definitely still talking to the guys. You get texts pretty much every night from some guys, and it's nice they reach out, and because it's pretty hard being away from the team. So that part of it's tricky, but I don't think I really need to give them a pep talk after last night. They played awesome.
Yeah, give me your impressions of Broberg and just, we are marveling at the fact that this guy is in St. Louis and comes over in an offer sheet, and Holloway, who was really good again last night. But just your assessment of being on the ice and then watching those guys from afar and what you've seen so far.
Yeah, really impressed. Obviously both can skate really well. Brobes has been been jumping up their play. Him and Falker have been an awesome pair. They seem to fit really well together. They're driving a lot of offense from the back end. They're moving pucks quick. They're up in the rush. It's something that has been really good for us this year. They've created a lot and helped us win games. Same with Holly. He does it a little different. He uses his speed. He's strong. He's driving the net. He's got good finishing. That goal last game, the first one, was that's a hard play when you're standing still and you got a goalie flying out at you to be able to open something up. And that was a really high-end finish. So I've been really impressed with those guys.
It was also a great game for Jake Neighbors last night, and he just came off signing that 2-year contract extension. How excited were you to see that he is sticking around in St. Louis for a little bit longer?
Yeah, really excited. He's obviously a huge part of our team now and a huge part of our future. And, guys like that are really hard to come by, where they have such a big impact on the ice. And obviously everyone knows his personality and what kind of a person he is. And that's someone you want to be with for a very long time. So we're really happy to have him around for a couple more years. I think it takes a little bit of pressure off him and play and be the person he is. And, I'm super happy for him.
Robert, a couple more things. Number one, I mentioned at the end of our last segment that you mixed it up with Aho in the game against Carolina on Saturday night. Do you enjoy that? And if so, how much? Getting into the little tussle with a player from the opposition, taking a roughing penalty here and there. Do you like that?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do it every game, but he was kind of going after Jordan a bit there, and I kind of had a spot where I could go after him a little bit, so that was pretty much it.
I love
it up.
Yeah, I love seeing it. And we know you're a hockey nerd. You're watching a ton of games on TV. So do you lay out a schedule beforehand? Do you know, for example, who you're going to watch tonight? Or are you flipping between games? What's it look like when you're sitting watching a bunch of games on TV?
Yeah, I usually try, if we're playing, obviously that, but I usually have 2 or 3 that I really want to tune in. I usually put one on the TV, one on my iPad, and then kind of flip back and forth. So, there's a lot of hockey. I think that Tuesday Frozen Frenzy is crazy, where now I get to be a fan and enjoy all 32 teams playing on Tuesday. So it's gonna be interesting.
Chief had some stern looks for his squad last night. Did it bring back some memories for you, good or bad?
Yeah, we've seen all those looks, and it was kind of funny for me. I got a couple good laughs because I know exactly what's going on through his brain, and what he'd be saying to me. He's done that to me 100 times as well. So it was great to see him. Too bad I couldn't see him in person, but it was nice to see him.
Robert, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Get well soon. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Robert.
you.
Robert Thomas, Blues Forward, with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the World Series starts tonight in L.A. Jack Flaherty and the Doyers against Garrett Cole and the Jonkeys, and we'll have it for you here on 101 ESPN. Pre-game at 6 o'clock. Is there a World Series team you're rooting for, and if so, why? That's next on 101 ESPN.
the biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by James Carlton State Farm. Are your car and home insurance rates competitive?
Find out at carltoninsurance.net.
9:05 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. The World Series starts tonight. Yankees at Dodgers, Game 1. Pregame at 6 here on 101 ESPN. Danny, I know your friends pay an awful lot of attention to football. Do they pay attention to the World Series?
You bet they do.
And what are they thinking?
MGM has the Dodgers favored in the series. Okay. So they're looking at the Dodgers. I myself am going with the Yankees in 6. You asked the question. I think the question was posed, is there a World Series team you're rooting for and why? I do not have a favored one way or another. I just want to see a good, long series. Mm-hmm. I hope we don't see a sweep. I don't want to see 4-1. As a baseball fan, let's extend this thing out as long as we can. I don't have a vested interest one way or another. It doesn't matter that there's former Cardinals a part of this. I don't care. I just want to see a good series. And I want to see the stars shine, too.
I would love to see it go 7 games. Normally, I'll find a manager, but I find both of the managers to be a lot of fun and enjoyable. Both Boone and Dave Roberts appear to be really nice people, at least to the media. So I can't make a choice there. I am a Tommy Edman fan. Played in the same fantasy football league as Tommy Edman last season. Didn't go well for me, by the way. But
how'd it go for him?
He won 2 years in a row.
Did he really?
Pretty good fantasy football player. He is.
I've been informed that Tommy Edman, in addition to winning the NLCS, also had 2 pretty sweet fantasy football weeks across the NLCS, including being the high scorer the weekend just after winning the NLCS. Wow. So right now, Tommy Edman cannot lose at anything.
It's Tommy's world, and we're just living in it.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for the Dodgers, though, because of Tommy Edman. I'm a fan of Jack Flaherty. Don't know him well, but I'm a fan. And, Brooke, I think you'll agree with this. Mookie Betts could very easily be my favorite player in baseball.
Oh, 100%.
I think the 4 best players in baseball are playing here. And Ohtani, Betts, Judge, Soto. I think those are the 4 best. I think when healthy, the best all-around player in baseball is Mookie Betts, and I want to see him get another World Series ring.
And you have your postseason surprise stars, too. Tommy Edman being the NLCS MVP, Giancarlo Stanton also being the ALCS MVP. Stanton and his postseason career, I think there's a big conversation to watch here. By the way, who I'm rooting for, I'm going to go with the Dodgers because of Tommy Edman and Jack Flaherty. Both fantastic guys on the field, off the field. And that's nothing against Luke Weaver. He was also very nice during his time here with the Cardinals. But I'm rooting for those 2 guys because I just enjoyed watching them and just talking to them over the years. But when you're also looking at Stanton and what he's able to do here, I think there's a big conversation around maybe him potentially being a Hall of Famer. And what happens during those World Series could really determine that.
Kike Hernandez would be a Hall of Famer if it was the postseason.
He would. He's an amazing postseason performer.
I got 4 guys that I look at as being keys in this series, and Kike Hernandez is one of them. He's an average player in the regular season. He's got 15 career postseason home runs. So, when the lights are the brightest, this guy shows up. I had Gleyber Torres. Now, with all the big names that are being mentioned out there, he had 293 in the second half of the season, and he's a free agent to be, and this is where you can make some money, so that's somebody I look at. How do you not look at Luke Weaver? Saved the first 4 playoff wins for the Yankees, had 2 scoreless innings in their clincher. He's been great at the back end. And Evan Phillips, I know that's like people are like, Evan Phillips, well, the Dodgers bullpen has to be really good in this series. The way it lines up, they got Flaherty, Yamamoto, and then maybe Buehler or a bullpen game or vice versa. So
Game 3.
Yeah, it's Game 3, and they're missing so many guys. I mean, they're missing Glasnow and Kershaw and Gavin Stone, Gonsolin, May, Sheehan, and Ryan were guys that they thought could help at some point this year. So the Dodgers bullpen collectively has to be really good in this series for them to win.
And by the way, I know that I am I'm joining the short attention span, not very smart sports fan theater here. But even though this is the Dodgers' 4th World Series, right? 17, 18,
4 under Dave Roberts, yeah.
Yeah, and this one. I don't think that this, and it is a dynasty, I don't think it'll be validated until they win a regular season World Series. It's hard to get to a World Series. You go to 7 games in a World Series, it's a coin flip. But I don't think until they win it all in a 162-game season that this will be a validated dynasty.
They need it. They need it because, of course, as we know with the COVID season, everything was kind of a little bit more of an asterisk because of that, because it didn't really feel like they had one. It felt like everything during that time wasn't real. So you kind of need this to be able to validate or to be valid in that. And you look at the Dodgers and Yankees, too. We talked about the payroll, all the different kind of stuff. I think, honestly, this World Series is great for baseball. I think it's great for baseball fans, but it's interesting because of the payroll and because of who these two teams are. I've also seen a lot of people text into our show and on social media say that they don't want to watch this. They don't want to watch this World Series. What do you guys think about that?
I think they'll be watching.
Well, number one,
the Yankees haven't won since 2009, and if you want to have a valid season, the Dodgers haven't won since 1988.
Yeah,
so they can spend all the money they want. It's a little bit of luck, spending it wisely, being healthy at the right time. For the most part, there's been actually pretty good parity in baseball. Yeah. It may frustrate some people, and I get it. I mean, these two teams spend a ton of money, and they're going to keep Soto probably, and they go out and get Stanton, and they re-sign Judge for an inordinate amount of money. So Ohtani gets $700 million. I get all that, but still, they haven't won a lot.
Exactly. Now, I look at both of these teams. Guy who caught most of the season and hit 4th for the Yankees was their rookie catcher, Austin Wells, drafted and developed by them. They traded a bunch of prospects that they developed to get Juan Soto. They developed Aaron Judge. They traded a bunch of prospects that they developed to get Giancarlo Stanton. They traded prospects to get Jazz Chisholm. Rizzo was a free agent. Volpe, their young shortstop, one of the best shortstops in baseball. They developed. So it's not like they are a team that's loaded with free agents. Granted, the starting pitcher tonight is a free agent and a highly priced free agent. But it's not like these teams are the 97 Marlins or the 01 Arizona Diamondbacks. These are not teams that are purchased. If you look at the Dodgers have done as good a job as anybody, especially when you consider where they've been drafting and developing players. Granted, they gave Ohtani $700 million, but they traded prospects for bets. They made a great budget signing in Teoscar Hernandez. Tommy Edman, they gave up virtually nothing to. What did they give up for Tommy Edman?
Because that was a 3-team trade, remember, with Fetty and Pham?
Yeah, but who they get? Did they? I think the minor leaguer?
He's a minor leaguer.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
A prospect. They find Max Muncy on the A's scrap heap. The A's didn't recognize how good Max Muncy was. Same with Kike with the Marlins. They get him for nothing. They developed Andy Pages. They developed Will Smith. They got Chris Taylor, I think, from Seattle in a trade where they had done a great job of professional evaluation and gave up prospects. So while these teams do have exceedingly high-priced players, the predominant core of these teams is either products of the quality of their systems or, in the cases of several free agents, Ohtani specifically for the Dodgers and Garrett Cole specifically for the Yankees, they have delved into free agency. But, man, these teams have done a better job of drafting and developing than our team has.
I think the Ohtani effect of this World Series is huge.
Yes.
You can talk about Judge. You can talk about Soto. But there's been great, and I mean great players that have played in the World Series. There hasn't been a guy like this recently.
No.
I mean, and I actually looked this up. In 2 years, Japanese sponsor brands have gone from 11 brands across 10 stadiums to now 35 brands across 15 stadiums in just 2 years. That's the Ohtani effect, and I think that's something that makes this World Series a lot of fun. If you're a casual fan, and you may want to watch football, and there's college football on tonight, and there's hockey, and there's the NBA. But if you're just that casual fan that flips around, you'll stop and watch when he's up because it's Shohei Ohtani.
You have the megastars. You have Shohei Ohtani. You have Aaron Judge. There's so many others, too, in the supporting cast. I think this is great for baseball. You have two of your powerhouses going head-to-head. You have two of your Goliaths going head-to-head. And as you mentioned, Shohei Ohtani brings in the international aspect of the game, too. I think this is the best situation for baseball. And if you're a baseball fan, how can you not watch this with all the star power and talent that both of these teams have? I think it'll be exciting. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw, but Dave Roberts, he kind of crushed everybody's dreams, saying that Shohei Ohtani will not pitch during the World Series. I was kind of holding out hope for that.
I was too. I think Blake Trinan will nail down the save in Game 7, and I've got the Dodgers in 7.
Dodgers 7. Yep. I got the Yankees in 6.
I have the Dodgers in 6.
And I'll go with Ohtani for MVP.
You can't argue with that one either.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
I can go Betts, I go Freeman, I go Ohtani, I can go...
But if you have the Yankees, who's it going to be?
I'm going Juan Soto.
That's a great call.
What about Stanton again?
Could be him, too.
Or Judge.
It could be Tom.
I mean,
yeah. You take your pick of these superstars, man. You can't go wrong with any of them.
It's fantastic. No. It really is. That is today's Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got our Blues insider from The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford, coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Swissair Heating and Cooling, the Wizards of Comfort since 1989. SwissAirSTL.com.
Reason to choose Diamonds Direct over any other jeweler? Get this. Diamonds Direct maintains involvement in the entire diamond process and handpicks the best just for you. You see, any jeweler can claim to be a direct importer or have so-called partnerships overseas, but Diamonds Direct has special access that others simply don't have. Nobody can get closer to the source than Diamonds Direct. Indeed, Diamonds Direct is recognized in the industry as a world diamond powerhouse with unrivaled buying power and decades of inside connections that go back to their roots as actual diamond cutters. Bottom line, Diamonds Direct is without question the jeweler here that can truly offer the absolute best value. We're true talking direct importer prices on hand-selected diamonds that come straight from the source. Make no mistake, Diamonds Direct refuses to be undersold on GIA-certified diamonds. And we challenge you, let us prove it. Diamonds Direct, your source for the ultimate diamond value. Proud to call the Lou home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
I'm Dr. TJ from the Institute of Natural Health. I'm inviting you to check out our show, Wellness 101, every Sunday at 7 a.m. right here on ESPN. On Wellness 101, we talk about how to optimize your health as well as all things health-related. We discuss how to take control of your health by being your own health advocate, and we offer practical tips for you to become the healthiest you possible. On Wellness 101, we cover topics like optimizing hormones, thyroid health, gut function, cardiovascular health, sexual health and performance, and many more. So join Aaron and me every Sunday for Wellness 101 at 7 a.m. on ESPN.
This is wide receiver Luther Burden III. Come support NIL and get a quote from my friend, James Carter.
Thanks, Luther. That's right. For every quote you mention Luther Burden III, we'll make a donation to NIL on your behalf. Check us out online at carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800.
ESPN has your chance to win free tickets to Jingle Fest, featuring Russell Dickerson, Low Cash, and Ashley Cook on Saturday night, December 7th at the Family Arena. Find all the ticket details and find that chance to win free tickets for Jingle Fest right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN, brought to you by Sumner One.
Jeremy Rutherford. JR is with us now on 101 ESPN as the Blues get ready to take on the Canadiens tomorrow night. Jeremy Rutherford, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good, live from the hotel, the Delta Hotel in Toronto, Ontario. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. We asked this question of Joey Vitale, who, by the way, is here in St. Louis. But what do you like about Canada? Joey's answer was that he's not there.
That he's not there. I like the people. The people are friendly. I know that's a big cliche because people talk about all the time how Canadians, they are. It's the truth. I mean, if you've never been to Canada and you walk up to a door, they're holding the door for you. If they step in your way, they turn and look at you and say, sorry, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
People are, sorry. And I'll tell you what, this is something I know you guys probably like too. We went to a restaurant a couple nights ago, Blues social media team and people behind the scenes, and we had a waitress who I must have named 3 items off the list. Well, I'll take this. No, you don't want that. Well, I'll take this. Nah, you probably don't want that. And so I think we got to item number 4 before she recommended something from her own restaurant.
That's great.
So how are the wings?
How'd you know, Danny?
Big spender like you.
I think we had the little bit of fish and chips the other night here.
Very
so the
nice.
4th item that she liked, yeah.
Okay, well, I also asked Joey this, and then we'll get into some Blues hockey because obviously a lot to talk about. But poutine, I've never had it. I'm just so intrigued by it. Have you had it? Is it good? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's great. I didn't have it on this trip, but if you get up into Montreal, obviously they do it the best up there. I mean, the fries, the brown gravy, the cheese curds, it's just amazing. You know, but sometimes when you go outside and walk a couple miles and try to get on the right side of things, and then you go into a restaurant and it says poutine on the menu, there's no skipping it. Like I don't know how you say I'm going to skip this, have a salad, and then I'll just be back in St. Louis, wishing I had ordered the poutine in Montreal.
Yeah,
JR, I really enjoyed your visit with Craig Berube. What did you take away from it?
Yeah, just a lot. First of all, I mean, how busy could this guy be? He's the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you text him and you say, hey, you have a couple minutes, or do you want me to go through the PR department in Toronto? And he said, just call me. So he calls him. So you call him and talk to him for 20 minutes. And, kind of the takeaway was that he felt like it was time, even though you probably asked him the day before he got let go, is this time? He probably says no. But I think after having some time to reflect, he said that it was. He's in a great situation now with the Toronto Maple Leafs under the microscope, guys. And we did have a chance to talk to him for a few minutes off to the side yesterday here in Toronto, and something that really, really stuck out. The day he got fired, he talked to his wife, and he said, honey, we will never, ever be loved more than we were here in St. Louis. So let's make sure we remember that. And he also said that he gets recognized a lot more, even years ago, in St. Louis as head coach of the Blues than he does here in Toronto. He said he walks his neighborhood and doesn't really get recognized.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Isn't the head coach of the Maple Leafs supposed to be the most visible man in town?
You would think so. I want to find out where he lives. He must live like in this obscure pocket where they don't have TVs and hockey or something.
Right. Hey, JR, the Athletic ran a piece ranking the NHL front offices, and by extension, I guess, Doug Armstrong. Were you surprised that the Blues didn't land in the top 10 with the things that Army has accomplished over the course of his career?
A little bit surprised, yeah. And first of all, anytime I'm on the radio and you guys as hosts bring up an Athletic list, I kind of cringe because I don't know which list has come out. But I did see the front office rankings, and I looked like they were in the middle of the pack. I know Dallas was at the top, and they really haven't won anything lately. Generally, those lists are led by the teams that have made some hay in the past few years. But I think just what Dallas has done, and Jim Nill winning GM of the Year, I think a couple years in a row, he's done an outstanding job. But with the Blues, I think people see him as, they've kind of fallen off the map. And I don't think that I can tell you that the people who put together those lists, they probably aren't as excited about, some of the things that Doug Armstrong has done the past 6 months that Blues fans are excited about, i.e. Philip Broberg, Dylan Holloway, Texier, like we saw last night in that win. So I am not surprised, only because I feel like big picture, the people I talk to just aren't that excited about the Blues right now.
And that's why I was surprised that he wasn't in there, because this is a poll of NHL general managers and scouts and assistant GMs and people like that. And I thought that they would say, okay, he has changed the game now with this dual restricted free agent signing and getting Broberg and getting Holloway. He's kind of changed the way business is done in the league. And he doesn't make, granted, they've let some guys get away and they have made some bad free agent signings, but he really doesn't make bad trades.
No, he doesn't. A lot of good trades. And we should be clear, like you just said, that was not, a poll of just the media or fans or writers. That was league executives. So it does put a lot more stock into the vote. I think there's a ton of respect for Doug Armstrong, obviously. I think if you polled a lot of them, he's the guy that's had a lot of success for a long time. I just think currently as we sit here, in a year or two, if Broberg looks like a star and people are looking back and saying, wow, look what Doug Armstrong did there. Blues top 10. But I just think as we sit here now, them trying to find their way back into the playoffs, it's going to be a situation where the team probably just doesn't earn as much respect as they should.
So essentially they're prisoners of the moment too, is basically what we're saying.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
JR, there's a lot of positives, obviously, to point out with the game last night, so it's really kind of hard to just point to one person, but really, I thought it was such a great game for Jordan Kyrou last night. I really liked that Booch, Texier, and Kyrou line.
Yeah, I was on the phone with our good friend Luke Korak, does work for NHL.com, last night, and he was trying to pick his player of the game. I said, gosh, you could go few different ways, and he said he went with Binnington, but I said you can really make a case for Kyrou. Guys, this is the best I've seen Jordan Kyrou play. I know he's had highlight reel goals. I know that he's had moments where he played strong defensively, and you look at him and you say, okay, it looks like he's turning things around, a year ago, 2 years ago. But what I saw last night, and I think Drew Bannister said it's been a couple games now, he's just doing everything. Like the skating last night, that's what he should be doing. Like he is one of the most elite skaters in the league. And when he set up Broberg for that goal with his skating, it was phenomenal. And then later on, not one, not two, but 3 times he went back for the puck before he set up the Texier goal, and it's all forecheck, and that's Jordan Kyrou. So you're not going to get the forecheck every single night from a skilled player like him, but as Drew Bannister said after the game, guys, he is a team-first player right now. He's doing whatever he can to help this team.
Were many people up in Canada, the national media, those that follow the NHL very closely, and we know, JR, Edmonton, you go to Toronto, you go to Ottawa, it's just a throng of media, but are people talking about Broberg and Holloway and how this has transpired and what it's meant to the Blues so far?
Definitely. So, first of all, it's nuts. I wish every Blues fan could come up here to Toronto and just walk the streets like before a game. It's so involved. You jump into an Uber and the Uber driver's talking about the game. It's something. But yes, when I got to the arena last night, Dan, some of my counterparts I've known 15, 20 years in the business. Tell us about Broberg. What's he doing so well? Who does he play like? What do you think? And, I think when he scored last night and then Holloway got his first of 2, I was getting text messages from scouts saying, oh, boy, these Edmonton people are going to be going nuts with what the Blues have pulled off here. So I do think we talked a minute ago about giving Doug Armstrong his props for a move like that. I do think that'll come, but I just think that we're focused in and we see what he's doing, and I think other people around the league, like here in Toronto last night, are starting to catch on.
Are the Blues hockey night in Canada tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know. I did not check out the TV.
Okay. Yes,
yeah,
they are.
I'm almost positive they are, yeah.
Great. Are you headed to Montreal then?
I actually am not. I came up here for the Craig Berube game. We'll head back to St. Louis and get some work done, some big picture stories that I've been working on for quite a long time, and then we'll see the team when they get back to St. Louis.
What's the next thing we have coming out?
Oh, goodness. We've got a few of them. We have a story coming up next week where we're going to look at which one is it? I'm trying to there's so many of them I'm trying to juggle here. We're going to get to Robert Thomas soon, but then with his injury, we had to back off of that one. I know I have a Blues mailbag part 1 and part 2 coming up. I'm also working on a story that involves the Utah Hockey Club. We try to cover our bases with several other teams that we don't cover on a regular basis, so we'll hit that one. So just a lot of juggling to do with a few different stories, but lots of them coming up.
It's always great. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Have a great day and a safe trip home.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, getting ready for Week 8 in the NFL. What are some of the storylines we're looking at? We'll tell you next on 101 ESPN.
Underdog Fantasy is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Over 5 million happy players across 33 states have won $2 billion. And Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances across all sports right now. It's the perfect week to put in some entries because everything's playing. Could have got in on some football and some basketball last night. Tonight you can get on some baseball, some hockey, and some basketball. Of course, you can always get your entries in for the NFL as well. With the Champions Game, you can win money just by making entries on your favorite players and competing against other underdog players. That's my favorite way to play. Just picking higher or lower on player stats is so easy, and now they make it a little bit easier to walk away as a winner. With Underdog's double flex option, you can even take 2 L's and still have your entry be a win. Let's build an entry for today. I'm going to roll with a start right now for the NBA game tonight, the big game between the Suns and the Lakers. Higher on 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists from Kevin Durant. Then we're going to go lower because it's a big number, lower than 38.5 points, rebound, and assists on LeBron James there. This season, Underdog's going to be running a special promo or bonus almost every single day, like Profit Boost to pump up your winnings with just a tap when you apply the boost to eligible entries. That's what I did today. Discounts where you'll get adjusted projections at certain player stats to give you a better shot at a big W, and free picks. They're basically a sure thing. Player just has to get higher than 0.5, let's say points or rebounds if it's an NBA game, for that selection to win. Plus, all new users get that free pick. It's currently Boostober from now until October 27th. You can boost your profit on all NBA entries by 20%. Underdog is literally giving you unlimited profit boost to make basketball entries. Download the app, sign up with my promo code ROCC, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code ROCC. And remember, you're getting those free picks as well. Must be 18 plus and present to stay where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern you play. Call 100-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues with a big win yesterday over the Maple Leafs 5-1, and we talked about it a lot over the show. You can listen to our Dobbs Tire Auto Centers podcast as we had on Blues analyst Joey Vitale, St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas, and the Athletics' Jeremy Rutherford to talk about that big Blues win. Blues are back in action tomorrow right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues, as it's the Note versus the Habs face off. It's a 5 p.m. pregame, 6 p.m. puck drop right here on 101 ESPN. And speaking of right here on 101 ESPN, we have Game 1 of the World Series tonight as the Yankees and Dodgers face off. It's a 7:08 first pitch. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Week 8 in the National Football League. A couple of notes that I have for you. First of all, a lot of consternation about the Cincinnati Bengals 1-4 start. Now they're 3-4. They play the Eagles this weekend. And Brooke and Dan, if Cincinnati beats the Eagles and gets some help, they could actually be in a playoff spot by the end of the weekend. It's a long season.
You and I have talked about this a lot. Doesn't surprise me. And you got Joe Burrow. You're off to the bad start. Doesn't matter. There were some tight games, probably winnable games, and doesn't surprise me one bit to see where they're going.
No, not whatsoever. I think that we all knew this, even though, like you guys said, because of the rough start, because you have Joe Burrow. And if you even watch some of those last losses that they had leading up to this, it really wasn't Joe Burrow that was causing those losses.
He's been great.
Oh, are we doing back-to-back? And I thought you said that you had a couple of them, so I was giving you time. I can give you one, though.
Let me start with the end. On Sunday night, the Cowboys, with the 5th worst rush defense in the league, travel to San Francisco, where the Niners, even when they have their weapons, have the 7th best rush offense in the league. 7th best rushing offense against the 5th worst rushing defense. No Brandon Ayuk, presumably no Deebo Samuel. I'm thinking that probably Kyle Shanahan and his staff have spent the week preparing for his offensive line, Shanahan's offensive line, to just overwhelm the Cowboys' defense. Jordan Mason runs for 200 yards probably.
And Dallas just found out that their tight end has a tear in his knee. So he's out too. So it gets worse for them.
And they can't run the ball.
And they cannot run the ball. And that's the biggest problem they've got right now.
So another storyline I'm watching, I know we mentioned this at the beginning. Bless you, Rocky. He's having some sneezes over there. So another story that we've talked about earlier this week, but it'll be interesting to watch this weekend is the return of Tua this weekend. What are you guys expecting about that? I know that we discussed it earlier in the week, but I'm still very surprised about his stance about not wearing the Guardian cap. We've had some people point out on the text line, too, that doesn't guarantee that will protect you from a concussion, of course, but we've seen how many concussions that he's dealt with in the NFL, and I'm just really surprised that he's already coming back. I think that obviously the Dolphins' primary focus moving forward will be protecting their quarterback, but he also has to be a part of that responsibility too of protecting himself.
Yeah, what do I expect? I expect myself to wince every time he's touching the football. I wish he wasn't playing. I'm no doctor. I don't know enough about concussions to say whether he should play or not play. He's been cleared by doctors, but just watching it, it's gut-wrenching at times when he's got the football. I don't like watching it.
We've seen the reaction to his concussions, the one against Cincinnati a few years ago, the one this season, where his body seizes up. If that were my son, I would be pleading with him to not play anymore.
Yeah, I just enough. I mean, you got enough money, and it's so interesting, though, when it comes into the financial part of this. So if he's cleared by a doctor, then he's on the hook to play. Mm-hmm. And if he's not, then he gets the full money. Right. I mean, it's just kind of sad in a way. Yeah. I don't want to see him play.
No, I just also think about, too, the young kids that are watching this. I just think that it would have been a good, at least example to wear the Guardian cap to show that, hey, look, it's okay to wear this to protect yourself or have another layer of protection, because I just think that it's bigger than you at this point. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people watching, young kids watching who are involved with football, and I think that it was a chance for him to really show people that it's okay to wear those Guardian caps. I agree with you.
I was looking at QBs as well. Tua was number one on my list. The other one is Aaron Rodgers. They're 2-5 against the Pats, 1-6. They've got all. There's no excuse anymore for Aaron Rodgers. He's got the band back together. He's got the team that he wants. He's got the skill position players that he wants. There's been a little consternation in their locker room, shockingly. Want to see, and with the Patriots this week, but I want to see how they look now with probably, 10 to 14 days all together, skill position-wise. And the other one I'm looking at is Jameis Winston getting a start for the Browns. How does he look?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that.
I'm intrigued.
He's got to be better than Deshaun, doesn't he?
He's got to be. And so I'll be intrigued watching that. But on the flip side, I'm going to watch Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has become like must-see TV for me. I love watching him run the football. It's fun.
It's FOMO for me because for my Tennessee Titans, they're awful, and I miss having Derrick Henry on the team. But, man, he looks so great with Lamar. They're perfect together. So I think that's always fun watching those two. Just real quick, did you guys see just another interesting storyline, too, this week? Saleh working with the Packers.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
I know. It's just
as an
crazy.
Offensive guy, he's basically taking a look at the offense for Greg LaFleur and telling him how he can make things more frustrating for defenses.
I think it's great. I think anytime you can get a different set of eyes that's relevant in the game, and he's clearly relevant, just was removed as the Jets head coach, that, you know what, that's a good thing. Why not have somebody look at your team and evaluate?
And I believe Saleh was the best man at LaFleur's wedding.
I love when NFL teams or coaches do that thing where it's like, no, because I was on the other side of the ball, I'm actually really good at seeing it from his perspective. Point in fact, Steve Spagnuolo was a quarterback.
That's right. There you go.
And I've always loved that, like, he saw how defenses screwed with him, and he was like, I want to do that.
Okay, one more thing. It might not be as visible because he's such a happy guy, but Patrick Mahomes has some of that Tom Brady, Michael Jordan chip on the shoulder stuff going. Like one time against the Bears, he throws a touchdown pass, runs down and greets his receiver in the end zone. And then Sunday Night Football, as he's running back, he holds up both hands to signify 10, that like the Bears could have taken me. I went 10th in the draft. Remember in training camp when one of the Raiders players said that he sounds like Kermit the Frog?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mahomes said, we'll take care of that when the time comes. This weekend, the time has come. The Chiefs are at Vegas. Something's going to happen.
Well, the other thing, too, it's like a Chiefs home game, too.
Yeah, it is, right?
Going to Vegas, that place will be loaded with the Chiefs' kingdom there. It'll be like a home game for them.
Casey, a 9.5-point favorite on the road. You don't see that very often.
And you have DeAndre Hopkins, too. What will that look like for the Chiefs? I'm interested to see how Hopkins will do with Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he goes from Will Levis and Mason Rudolph towards the end there to Patrick Mahomes. That's a huge upgrade, but I'm interested to see how he integrates into this offense.
And he takes number 8. I wish he would have taken number 18, but 8 is fine.
Yeah, he said, well,
been 10 all his career.
He said Kobe.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
We'll take that. So there are your NFL storylines heading into week number 8 here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with an edition of Rock and Roll here on the opening drive.
I want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
We've got a balloon party coming up at the top of the hour, followed by BK and Ferrario from the Centene Ice Center. BK Ferrario and Tanner will be with you from 11 to 2, and then the Fast Lane from 2 to 6, leading up to World Series Game 1 tonight. 6 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. Right now, however, we've got rock and roll.
Have you guys seen this new arena? First of all, we mentioned it yesterday. The Clippers are playing in a new arena where you have to pay $70 to park. But they've also tried some other things. Have you seen this new thing with the wall at the Clippers' new arena? Sorry, I need to describe.
Yes.
Sorry, the wall.
I heard about it, but I don't know about it.
Because it's not the wall, it's the wall with an exclamation point every single time. So
crowd
it's
is kind of elevated.
Yes.
Makes it tough to shoot free throws.
They've kind of stolen, co-opted, whatever word you want to use, the soccer idea. We talked about this a lot when City first opened. There is now a supporter section. The wall is...
Exclamation point.
Yes, the wall is the section behind one of the baskets where for the opposing team is shooting, obviously, their free throws. And there's a smaller section that's in the middle of the wall where it's the supporter section. It's immediately behind the basket, and it's a small, really bunched in section. And there's rules, and there's a questionnaire you have to actually fill out to get into this supporter section, because you're not allowed to wear opponents' jerseys. You're not allowed to cheer for their team. A lot of things that we talked about with St. Louis's supporter section and the soccer supporter sections before. Right out of the gate, they were playing the Suns, and apparently, according to Devin Booker, not bad.
I missed the free throw, man. I was pissed. So I think K missed 2 down there, too, so it might work.
There's Devin Booker from the Suns saying that bleep might work because they did miss a couple. Yusuf Nurkic did hit a couple very crucial ones that led to the Suns getting a win over the Clippers. But nonetheless, your thoughts on you can't sit down, you can't cheer for the other team, and you will get pulled out and moved to a different part of the arena if you try to put on a different team's jersey or cheer for the opposing team. Your guys' thoughts on the wall and the supporters section inside of it.
Love it 100%.
Love it, too.
Yeah, I really like it.
I just think Steve Ballmer is kind of a genius when it comes to this stuff. First of all, getting the Clippers their own arena away from the Lakers, a huge thing just for the optics of always being the little brother in that town, I think. But also, I don't know about you guys, but I personally enjoy watching sports at home more than in the moment, because it allows, I can see more of the game for the most part. The one exception at times being as I watch more soccer, because the TV broadcast does a really bad job of getting all the players in the majority of the shots. In the NFL, that used to be an issue, but now they have all 22, and I think broadcasts are better about giving you full field shots to show you big plays. Soccer's really bad about that. But other than that, I enjoy just watching the games from home for the most part. And so sports need to add game day experience to go to the actual arena, field, park, stadium, whatever, what have you. And so I've always thought that who's the Raiders, the former Raiders exec? Amy Trask, who always talks about boutique stadiums and how the idea is to go from 50,000, 75,000 per stadium to 20,000 person stadiums, and then focusing on the individual impact. I love what the Clippers have done here, because maybe it's just standing out more because it's a team that seems to never have a real fan base, because it was always overlapped by the Lakers. But having this supporter base, stealing it 100%, just co-opting a soccer thing, I love what the Clippers are doing. I just think more teams need to work on game day experience, and I am taking a little bit of shot at the one of the stadiums, one of the organizations here in St. Louis. That doesn't just mean finding more places for people to stand, or like different, more convenient places for them to have a beer. Like, there's other ways to expand the game day experience that isn't just about the beverage and food and fare aspect. There's actual game day stuff that you can do that makes cheering for the team and watching the game more fun. Do that.
Two interesting things about Intuit Dome. Number one, as you might guess from a Microsoft founder, the internet, the Wi-Fi at the Intuit Dome is great. And your ticket is your face. They use facial recognition for you to walk through the gates. Yeah,
That's cool.
So you set it up on their app, the Intuit Dome app. You do your facial recognition just like you do to turn on your iPhone, and you can just walk through. You don't need to show anybody anything. They'll stop you if your face doesn't pop up on their screen, and that's how you get in.
Wow, that's really interesting. I guess also, too, if you do something, then it will be easier to find you. I'm just thinking about everything with those Texas fans, and as you guys saw, where some fans threw some stuff on the field, and they are going through trying to see if they can recognize some of the people or the students from the fan section. I don't know. I just thought about that.
Great idea.
It would be easy to find those people, too.
Speaking of watching games on television, it was reported this morning in the Post-Dispatch that games will continue to be available on cable television throughout the region. The senior VP of business operations of the Cardinals said he's confident that for the first time, the productions also will be offered for direct purchase via streaming throughout the club's broadcast territory, with a subscription to the telecaster no longer being necessary to receive them via that method. That would end in market blackouts. So there's your answer about how to catch games, hockey games, baseball games, whatever you want to watch here locally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Makes some sense. I think that's the direction we all thought was going to eventually be. I mean, I think there's people out of habit will go to cable and watch, and they're subscribing on their phone or on their iPad or whatever, and that's in blackouts will be done. Yeah.
Very easy switch.
Smart.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of great fans for college basketball, today St. Louis SLU basketball will have another preseason game. This one they face off against Maryville. The big news for this game was the announcement yesterday from practice for the Billikens, which is that Robbie Avila is planning to play 15 to 20 minutes against Maryville tonight down at Chaffetz Center. Obviously, coming back from the ankle injury. This Friday will be exactly 4 weeks since he actually twisted it. They said they needed to give him 3 or 4 weeks, so it looks like everything is going to plan with him getting back onto the court, and hopefully everything goes well out on Chaffetz tonight. It'll be a fun one.
He should be great. He'll be one of the best players in the conference, and I'm interested to see how he performs tonight. And he should be a difference maker for St. Louis University. He's a guy that can be the difference between you being an NCAA tournament team and not an NCAA tournament team like you were last year.
I think I saw yesterday there was a ranking of the top 25 players in the country on a watch list, and he was number 20.
Wow.
And he was the highest A10 player on that list. So Billiken fans are getting a pretty good one, it looks like.
And I will say CJ Moore is one of the college basketball writers at The Athletic and one of the best college basketball writers in the country. He published a special piece on Robbie Avila on The Athletic yesterday, the charisma and the coach behind college basketball's most famous goggles. Read it. It's fantastic.
All right. We'll check it out.
And they're using him on a lot of the commercials and promotions and things of that nature, which we've never heard.
No. And he'll get a ton of NIL, too.
Have you guys heard how he's doing with that? I'm assuming the SLU fan base has stepped up.
Glasses company that wanted to do goggles with him.
I think he's working with Bommarito, too.
Yeah. There was a post that their collective store, so we can go on and you just buy the merch and it all goes into the collective pool. I think their collective, their NIL store was like on like a top 10 list of like sales across like the last few months, like since the announcement and everything like that. So the NIL store seems to be doing pretty well, and based on how many times I hear him on the radio and things like that, it seems like the other NIL endorsements are doing pretty well. I recently saw, I told you guys, a Avila Jimerson 24 campaign shirt. That's just good work. The next thing they need to do is just get the coach's sweater that they were wearing in that exhibition game against Rockhurst. Just give me a link to buy it, because I'll buy 5.
There
what
you
did
go.
it look like?
It's just a really clean, really comfortable looking white sweater with a little Nike logo, St. Louis on the chest, and then a little SLU Billiken on the sleeve. It just looks like the comfiest sweater I've ever seen in my entire life, and I need them to sell it.
All right.
I'll buy it.
We have quite a weekend of sports coming up. World Series Game 1 tonight. 6 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. Tomorrow, college football, Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Pregame at 10:30, and then tomorrow night, the Blues and the Canadians with the pregame at 5. An NFL tripleheader Sunday, Buccaneers and Falcons, pregame at 11. Action at noon, followed by the Raiders and the Chiefs, followed by the 49ers and the Cowboys. And then the Steelers and the Giants play on Monday Night Football. Great job by our producer, audio video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Good. Daniel, you were awesome as always.
You too, buddy. Thank you, Brooke. Thank Thank you, Matthew.
We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. Tim McKernan and Action Jackson coming up. And until Monday morning at 7, don't just have a great weekend, have an American weekend.